gamers, and welcome to Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage for games you play on your table and on your television. We are a proud member of the PSVG Podcast Network and thrilled to be part of the Dice Tower Network as well. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Hyman, and joining me on this co-op adventure, the guy sliding his way through the deluge of summer games, Josh Borboni. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. How are
Wonderful to
you
hear.
doing?
Wonderful to hear. So, Josh, when I was thinking, as I put hours and hours of thought into the titles of our podcasts, do you understand the reference to the title of this podcast?
Yes, it's a
Okay,
movie
it
reference.
is. Okay, I'm just making sure. I was like, I
Yeah.
wonder how many people are
God,
going
I
to
hope so.
understand this reference, or if this is just going to be people being like, "Man, Kyle is super weird." But I'm hopeful that people will understand the reference. And part of the reason I wanted to ask you is that way, if people don't understand it, they recognize or now are learning it is a reference to a movie, as far as that goes.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on our demographic, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I would hope most would know, but who knows? Maybe not. And also, if you're not really into movies, you might not know. So. But Josh, it is the end of June. That means, the end of video game summer Christmas has happened. But before we start talking about all the fun things that were announced this month, how was your month of June?
Oh, I don't want to be a bummer, Kyle.
Well, Josh, are you going to say that it was not a great not a great month?
No, no. I wasn't. Um, uh, yeah, I managed to get myself hurt. I managed to get myself sick. Who gets a cold in June? I don't know. But me, for 2 weeks, I'm still coming get back from it. Uh, I still have this that like liquid in the coughs, kind of like
Oh yeah, yeah,
cough, like
yeah.
just like phlegmy cough still, and that was a long period of time going through that, and still having to be like a productive human being. Just a very challenging month.
Are
Again,
you sure it was just quote unquote just a cold?
no,
Okay,
I'm not sure.
okay,
It felt like more than a cold. Uh, I wasn't the only one to get it, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to like be the victim here. Like I know a lot of people who had it at the same time or right before I did.
right.
So, I'm not unique in that way, in that regard. But
Yeah, I often wonder how often those things that we say, like, "Well, I just have a cold." How often are those actually just colds? I
yeah, it's
think,
like you had walking pneumonia, you had
yeah,
COVID. You're like, oh, okay,
right, because that's so many things, so many
oops.
things.
But I have to. There's no time to go to work to go to the doctor. You got to still work if you're sick, right?
That is the challenging part of all of that is that, right, you in theory, we have sick time and all of these things, but we definitely have this sense, I think, that we can't use it, right? Like, people are counting on us, people are depending on us, these things have to get done. So, yes, I have this sick leave that is supposed to be used when I'm not feeling well, but the act of using it feels like an immediate like inconvenience, right, to everyone around you. And transparently, sometimes it can be, right, because it might add work to other people. But in theory, it does while you're sick, but then when they're sick, like, you're helping to cover that, right? Because they're not feeling well. So,
Yeah, the conversation I have with my boss is like kind of like a conversation I used to have at old jobs, and he's like, at my other jobs, it was like because my job's shifting to the point system that so many other places use. We've never really had an attendance like policy, so
mhm,
it's gonna be a rough transition. And my boss is like, my past jobs, like you had to cover your shift if you were gonna be out. And I'm like, yeah, I know, and I also used to go through that, but guess what? Like places don't do that anymore
right.
because that's not something that worked. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you want me to cover my shift? I can't cover it. Okay, but if I'm calling out sick, it's not like I'm calling you. He's like, you need 48 hours. I'm like, I need to give you 48 hours to tell you I'm going to be sick.
Right.
He's like, yes, or you get a point. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to come to work sick and I'm going to get our entire team sick and they're all going to lose a point because you made me come in.
Right.
And then we have no team left because everyone got fired. It was their third point. It was their
Right.
fifth point. Like, it's just, there has to be a better way. Do I know that way? No. But sometimes dealing with things like that makes me frustrated because I'm like, it has to be easier than what they're implying it's like.
Well, I think also part of the challenge is that inst companies, and this is not just like businesses, a lot of organizations do this where there's only one person who can do a thing. And it's like,
That's
okay,
rough.
right. And I understand that it might not often it's like, well, it doesn't make financial sense because if they're here, like we don't need two people who can do it. Right. But sometimes stuff happens, right? Even not just sick. Like the example I always use, which is horrible, is like, you know, I've had that conversation with my supervisor. Like, what if I got in a car accident on the way to work, or I got hit by a bus, or like whatever? The institutional knowledge and like everything that I have and everything that I do is just gone because no one else does what I do. Right. And like it seems like as a company or an organization or as an institution, you'd want to protect that knowledge by having at least one other person who could cover if needed. That it is not like you have to call and get your shift covered. It's just that like, hey, you know, Josh isn't going to be in, so can XYZ person pick up the slack, you know, or cover the things that absolutely have to get done today if there's something that actually absolutely has to get done that day, you know? I think it often comes down to just a lack of trust of employees of like, hey, if I'm sick, I'm telling you I am sick. Like I just am. I'm not lazy. I'm not just trying to like get one over on you. I'm just not feeling well. And it's best for me to stay home so that I don't get everyone else sick and then I can recover and
Yeah,
work more
which is why you
effectively.
have that time like given to you. It's like, yeah, we deal with like I 100% agree, and it's something we talk about a lot. I also like it's like there's also the flip side to that where like I'm pushing cross training for my team so
Hmm.
everyone can do everything,
Right.
and the pushback is like you have that guy who does want to be out and he doesn't want his job to get done because he wants to make sure he won't lose his job because he's out too much because he's the only one who can do it. So in the flip side, it's like I want to do cross training, and then the other person's like, I don't want to train people how to do my job. You're like, oh great, where do we go from here?
Right.
So you don't want to train people how to do your job. So when you're out, we just all suffer.
Right.
Like not a great team player,
Right.
uh, which is tough, you know. But that, I mean, I think that also goes back to the company not making you feel, not my company. I'm just just in case anyone's
Right.
listening, a generic company um, should also be making those people feel that it's okay if they're out and they're not going to lose their job because
Right.
someone else can do it.
Right. Well, and that's the big thing, right? If I can do your job more effectively than you can on the rare occasion that you're out, are you actually good at your job?
That's a problem for the person who's out. Yeah,
Right, exactly.
yeah,
Like if me pinch hitting and muddling through is a threat to you, the thing you do all of the
yeah.
time,
Do better.
like, yeah, I don't know what else to say about
Yeah,
that. Like, and you know, I am someone who firmly believes generally in workers' rights and the fact that you know in general companies are probably too hard and too focused on results and things like that just and not because I don't think people work hard, but I think that the expectations just often are unrealistic.
yes,
The one example I use is my partner. She works at a level that I don't know other people who work at that level. I used to work with her like where we were coworkers, and she could produce results that even like I was good at my job and I worked hard, but I could not produce the same results she did. I just couldn't.
yeah.
I just was not capable of doing it. The problem was though, neither was anyone else of the 12 people on our team. It was only her who could do it. So then it was like, well, why isn't everyone producing like she is? It's like she is the anomaly, not us.
She's the one.
She is the anomaly. Like you're not going to get hers all of the time, or rarely are you going to get hers. Um, you know, but everyone just expects, oh well, if this one person can do it that way, it's like
Yeah,
no, she's just she's just like
freak of nature.
yeah, like
You don't
she's
want to
just
say it.
exceptionally good at what she does and can
Yeah,
do it exceptionally efficiently. You know, the rest of us just can't, and it's not that we're bad. It's not that we and you know sometimes as the person who's like being compared to them all the time, you're like, what the heck, like
yeah. Sometimes
so
you are the right fit, but the wrong position too,
yeah,
and that's
absolutely,
also something that needs to be figured out through cross
absolutely.
train, if you will.
Yeah. So I and sometimes, you know, I understand the pushback from cross training too is like, well, I already don't have enough time to do my job. Like how am I
Yes.
expected to learn
Yeah.
and understand another job? And to me, that's just a whole nother issue then. That's just that your company doesn't have enough staff.
Right. It's your company's job to give you the
Right.
time to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And If the company's like, well, then it's not profitable, we can't make money. Well, then, from what I've
Right?
understood, hey, maybe your company doesn't run very effectively or
Maybe
efficiently.
yeah,
Maybe you
you
need to look
maybe
at
you guys need to be replaced.
right. So anyway, hey, probably don't need
Yeah.
to talk about corporate stuff anymore.
No. But how was your June? I didn't
Oh,
even
my
ask
June
you.
was my June was pretty good, I guess. Overall, it was pretty chill. Not a ton going on. As I shared with you earlier, I am switching jobs here soon. I am still working in higher education, just switching institutions and slightly switching what I'm doing. So my last job day at my current job upcome is here at the early July, and then I'm moving schools and all that good stuff. Not moving like where I live or anything, but just go to a different place, and I'm pretty excited about that. It's gonna be a fun little change there. But other than that, I mean, June has been pretty chill. It's just been hot and
Yeah.
wet.
Hot
henceforth,
and wet.
yeah, henceforth the name of this video. It's just been so hot and humid and rainy and just pretty miserable. And of course, have never had an issue. And now 1 week ago, our AC goes out.
Oh.
And just one of those things that we've never had an issue before. And then, last weekend when it was, upper 90s, low hundreds here, it just decided it could not keep up anymore. And I shouldn't say completely out. Like it still works, but it cannot. It is kind of always much, much warmer in the home than it is that the AC is set at. And, um, AC, one of those things, at least where I live, it is nice. But like I was having this conversation with a friend who lives in Florida. Like for me, if given the choice between my heat going out in the winter or my AC going out in the summer, I'd much rather have the AC go out in the summer because if the heat goes out, then pipes might. I mean, there's so many more problems, right? Where and was there? They were like, no, I'd never want my AC. I'm like, well, this makes sense. You live
Yeah.
in Florida, like I get it. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah. So they're I'm not the only person who's had this issue. They actually aren't able to come look at it until this coming Wednesday. So, but luckily, like our temperatures have dropped down, and like I said, it's not that it's not working at all. It just is not able to keep up. And I did everything I know how to do. Like I'm very limited in my HVAC knowledge. So I did some stuff. It helped improve it a little bit, but definitely, we'll see what the experts have to say when they come out on Wednesday. I can only imagine what this is going to cost, but it's fine. So other than that, it was a fine June.
Good.
so so yeah, but anyway, Josh,
Yes.
let's get into it because I have a lot of fun things that I want to talk about you with. So thanks so much for joining us this month, everyone. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, suggested topics, hit us up at boardwithvg@gmail.com or check out all the awesome stuff over on the Instagram, also Board with VG. We are proud to be part of the Play Some Video Games podcast family, and we encourage you to check out all the shows like the PSVG podcast, the Nintendo Shack, PSXP, and the occasional Sweet Hangs. You never know when a new show might pop up, so be sure to stay tuned to all your favorite PSVG podcasts to stay up to date. We're also a member of the Dice Tower Podcast Network, so if you enjoy our conversations about board games and would like to dive deeper into that world, we encourage you to check out the Dice Tower Podcast archive, as well as all the other members of the network, no matter what type of board games you enjoy. There's a podcast on the network that's right for you. Josh, before we get into all of the fun topics of the shows, we obviously always start with what we've been playing. So, Josh, we have a lot of duplicates, a lot of overlap here, but what, sir, have you been playing recently?
Well, I could start with the non-duplicate, and that would be Sunderfolk. Still playing Sunderfolk. For anyone who doesn't know, it's basically Everdell meets Gloomhaven, the video game.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with the family. We're at the end of Act Two. We're currently failed that mission twice last night because my son is Leroy Jenkins sometimes and doesn't listen, which is fine. This is how he learns.
Yep.
For anyone who I don't know how much I've talked about it in the past, but for anyone who's curious, it's essentially dungeon crawler where you play as animal characters. I am the berserker. I am the barbarian. I'm a polar bear. My wife is a mage. She's a raven. My son is a I don't know what he's like. I don't know what I would consider. I forget his class, but he's a goat with a scepter kind of thing. He's not a wizard though. He doesn't have a lot of like spells. He's more closer to like a ranged character.
Okay.
But I'm forgetting his class. However, when you play, It's pretty cool. You get this. It's a narrated story, so your story is being told through a narrator and a main character, and like the characters in your village that you're defending or going on quest for it and things like that. As you play through the maps, they're like they're objective based, obviously, but when you do, there's main missions you can't veer off from. But once you complete a main mission, you are then given a choice to choose between missions. Typically, it's like three missions you can choose from, and they're kind of like broken down like puzzle mission. Um, I'm blanking on the other types of missions, but like um, as ally mission, things like that. Like the types are different, basically telling you what you're going to do in those missions. Some of those missions are like protect like an innocent mushroom. Some of them are defeat giant like trolls. And the game does some pretty cool things as you're playing through. It gives you the ability to rename things you encounter in the world. So you can name the characters in the village, some of them. When you upgrade, you can upgrade your village. As you're upgrading, you can name them, and sometimes a mission will let you rename a character in general. So you can tell when my son gets the rename options versus us. So like we just had to defeat an elite FFDD. So that wasn't confusing at all. Just he just wanted to hit FFDD and enter. So that's what he did. It used to be called a Ravager. Now it's called an FFDD. Uh, but all that being said, it's very fun and it's very charming and challenging. There's been a lot of missions that we've had to replay. We almost gave up on the first boss fight, which is like a goblin queen, I think, and it took us a lot of attempts. And I'm glad we didn't give up because we did eventually get through it and complete it. But once the game does a thing where if you fail a mission enough times, it does let you skip the mission and move forward with the story, which I do
Hmm.
like. And as you go through, you level up, and I think we're all level 10 right now. You can unlock stores in your town. You can do all these things, and the funny part is you have when you start, I think you have two conversation options, but as you level up, we're currently at four conversation options, and
Okay.
you can talk to all the different animals in your village, and each person can do that for their own character. So you do all that while you're playing on your phone. I should have mentioned that at first. So the game is up on the Xbox. We play on our phones, and um, so my wife could be having different conversations with other people, and we did find out recently that you can romance these animals.
Oh,
So my wife has like a girlfriend or a boyfriend now for her character, who like now is affectionate towards her, and like I feel very weird, but I'm like romancing the hardest character to romance, I think,
yeah.
and it's like this like like dog hyena thing. Uh, and it's very funny because he's very mean to me,
Uh huh.
or she. I actually didn't get the gender. This animal is very mean to me, but it's also a
Okay.
dancer. So it does very it doesn't show you the dances, but it's always alluded to that they're very adult dances. And
Gotcha.
I keep going back and pestering
Interesting.
this person keeps saying, "Why do you keep coming back?
Right.
You think you're so special just because you're a hero? You think you're gonna get something extra here?" But it's a lot of fun. It's very charming, like I said, and I like the combat. It feels good. It feels like a proper dungeon crawler. So we're having a ton of fun with that one.
What do you think the chances are that that game is going to be on your like favorite games of the year?
It's pretty high. I really like the game itself has a lot going for it besides the appeal of playing with my family. So
Hmm.
it'll definitely I would guess it's in the top 10. I don't
Okay.
know about top 5, but
Gotcha.
it's
Okay.
it's it's great, and like it's a $40 game. Like
Right.
it's a great price.
So, Josh, I apologize. So, I was looking up stuff about this game, like
Yeah,
while you're talking, because it is on once the partner and I finish what we're currently playing. This is kind of like the next in the group to play. So then I was like, oh, okay. So your son sounds like he's a ranger, like it's got like a bow and
Ranger. Yeah,
arrow, right?
most
Yep.
likely. Yeah,
So I as I was looking through, so then I'm like, oh, it's made by Secret Door, I think is the name of the developer. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, and it's published by Dreamhaven. I'm like, oh, who is Dreamhaven? So then I look up Dreamhaven as the publisher, and they're like, hey, we have this game called they're the ones who are also publishing a game actually that we saw at some of the Summer Game Fest stuff, Wildgate, that PvP multiplayer like ship shooter. But then they also published this game called Linked Banner of the Spark that came out in May. Have you heard of this game?
That's Lynked, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
LLY,
watched
and
some gameplay. It looks pretty good, actually.
yeah, and I was like, "Oh, it's a rogue life RPG." So it's like has like life things that happen in it, but then it's like a roguelite like dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
And then you have like, your kind of cozy game things that you do afterwards. And it's a 4.5 is like the user rating. 4.5 is like the reviews on Steam. This game just came out in May, and I've like never heard of this game. Like video games is so weird, like how many games there are, and this game apparently is very good, and I've never heard anyone talk about it.
They did a big push for streamers. I want my the guy Bruce Green streamed it. That's how I
Okay.
found out about it, and
Okay.
it looked like a lot of fun. But they were talking like this company is pushing real hard for streamers to play it. So there was like 2 weeks where streamers were just constantly playing it before it came out.
Gotcha, and I tend to watch the same streamers who are not variety streamers,
Yeah.
henceforth why I don't see these things, so but yeah, it's on everything, but yeah, anyway, okay, that was sorry for the side tangent there. I'm just
No,
like,
no, it's
man,
okay.
it's amazing how many great games there probably are that we've just never heard of or that
Yeah.
just don't succeed.
Well,
But anyway.
my wife pointed out to me there's a new game coming out called Dungeon Box, and their pitch is Jackbox D&D. So I watched a trailer for it. It looks pretty cool. So I sent them an email from our email account and was like, "Hey, you need early access? You want to come on a show and talk about your game? Like,
Oh, gotcha.
let me know."
Okay, well, there we go.
But that one looks interesting too. I don't know if it's just Steam, but
Mhm.
it looks pretty cool as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, Josh, so what else in addition to Thunderfolk?
All right. Well, the other game I have on here that we haven't played together or in general is Mario Kart World. I did
Whoa!
get a Switch too. What do you know? Thanks to Donnie. Big shout out to Donnie for hooking me up. After I didn't think I was going to be able to get it, and then I was able to, but it was like it was like the meme of like Mario Kart, buy my Switch 2, and then lunch for the rest of the week is ice cubes and chopsticks. Um, it was cutting it close, but we did it, and it's great. It's more Mario Kart, right?
Yeah,
Um, uh, so they really revamped it. It feels great. It feels just like Mario Kart, but like the open world part is a ton of fun. To just kind of drive around like Forza and do these like missions that are like scattered throughout the maps. They really went crazy with these courses though. They're insane.
yeah.
Um, and that Rainbow Road is nuts. It's just a very crazy map. But I don't know if did I talk. I didn't talk. We didn't talk about this, right? Because I didn't have a
Mm-mm.
Switch 2
Yeah.
last time we recorded. So the big difference, one of the biggest differences in Mario Kart World is actually it grew on me. I didn't love it right away, but when you pick your circuit, you have your four races. um, when you start your first race, and after your first race is over, the lap one of the next race is the drive to the next map,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool
Yeah.
because you kind of get a little bit of the map you finish, and then like this like road stuff on the way, and then like laps 2 and 3 or more sometimes. Sometimes if the maps are smaller, you have like 6 laps.
Okay.
Um, uh, and then that repeats all the way through. So every time you're playing a constant like drive, which is
Mhm.
pretty fun. Um, and then the knockout mode is pretty fun too. That's the one that they kind of really added as a new
Yeah.
mode. And that's just you gotta gear up for a longer race. It's not like doing a circuit. It's just a constant race. There's no breakups in between circuits, so it's a longer of a haul. But overall, very fun. I really like the extra characters. So many more characters. A lot of new weapon items. The fact that there's 24 racers now instead of 12, though, I'll tell you what. If you hated blue shells before, I don't. Rest in peace. I don't even know what to say to you.
Yeah.
They also made the effectiveness of green shells better, which is also bad.
Oh, okay.
Green shells, they're all over the place and they bounce a lot more, and
Gotcha.
they're like guided missiles. You just get a good shot You could take anyone out with a green shell now. It's kind of crazy. But it's still been having a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So that's great. That's I've been replayed other like we put Smash Brothers on there because my son had never played it.
Mhm.
So I put that on there for him to give it a shot. But I haven't really installed too much onto it. I did play Hades a bunch on it,
Mhm. Yeah. Imagine
the
that.
first one, because I still had all these things popping up like, I can't believe I didn't do this yet, and I can't believe there's still conversations to be had. Um, so I did play that on the Switch too, and I did play a little bit more of Hades 2 on the PC, the new update. Um, but I didn't play enough to necessarily have to talk about it. But it's still an incredible game. I can't believe they put out another patch instead of the full game. There's so much game in this game. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'll be super do you think it I know they said that the next patch they said is gonna be 1.0, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Because
might have, but
do you
this
think
new one's a big one.
have they said that that's gonna happen this year?
I can't imagine it doesn't come out this year. I
Okay.
would be surprised, but maybe. Who knows? I haven't seen an official announcement though.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about a game we played together with Lucas and Kevin at
Yeah.
different times,
Yep.
and that is FBC Firebreak, which must stand for Firebreak Control Firebreak. Is it redundant?
Federal Bureau of Control Firebreak.
Firebreak Control Firebreak. Uh, how do we describe this game? Three-player objective-based shooter.
Mhm.
Um, it's a little weirder than your standard shooter.
Yeah. That's I think an understatement for sure.
We play as characters. There's three character classes you can choose from at the start. I don't know if that will change in the future, but you can choose from a character who is like the mechanic, has like a wrench. He can fix things, although technically everyone can fix things. I think just more effectively.
Right.
You have a person with a water backpack on that can put out fires. It can fill hydrants. It can shoot post-it notes off of you,
Yep.
and no context. That's pretty funny. And then the third one is the he's not an electrician, but he has an electric gun, which can be used for electrical things.
Right.
And you can also like spray people with water and have the other person electrocute them, which is also fun.
It
So
is.
yes,
Yeah.
it takes place in the Control universe. So the bad guys you are fighting are from Control in the game. In the map, I would say the mission structure plays like this. And correct me if and when I make a mistake. You have a mission type, or we'll say like a mission um, that has an objective.
Yep.
You start the game with three of them available, unlocked. You can unlock more as you complete the other one, the maps. You could choose from easy, normal, hard, etc. to play, and then you can choose uh, to play. If you've, let's say we beat the first map, you can then go back and play the second evolution of that map. There are three versions of each map. Each map, the third version has a boss fight in our experience. Although I feel like when we played post-its the second time on the harder difficulty, was there a boss fight on that? I think we just were getting our butts handed
I
to
think
us.
yeah, I think the enemies were just so much harder
I don't
that
think
yeah.
we had the boss fight. Um, the boss fights are very unique and fun and challenging. Um, and the maps are unique and fun and challenging. Um, what else? What else do I want to say? Uh, your ammo. Oh, well, your ammo is sparse. You can find shelters that were in the game Control that all have ammo in them, and you also have these like makeshift workbenches that are in somewhere, usually in the same place in each map, but they're in the map and they have a workbench, and that's where you can refill your ammo doing like a Helldivers-esque mini game
Yeah.
where you're hitting left bumper, right bumper a bunch of times in accordance to the pattern they're showing in there to refill your ammo. And then directly across from you is a water station that will douse out radiation or fire or post-it notes. The important post-it notes.
Yeah.
Why don't you say a little bit about this game?
Well, I just think that, from an overview perspective, the maps when you play the first ones on the lowest difficulty, I mean, they take maybe 5 minutes. I
Very
mean,
short.
it's very, very, very quick. As you ramp up the difficulty and you ramp up, to the different levels, they definitely take more time than that. So, amount of time you're in game is kind of all over the place. What is most interesting, I think, to me about this game is that when the reviews came out, the reviews weren't great. The
Yeah.
reviews were pretty middle of the road or pretty middling. And I don't necessarily know that those reviews were wrong per se, but I do think this is a game that benefits significantly from playing with friends. Playing with randos is not going to be, I think, a great experience. I think playing with friends is pretty crucial for this. And not only from just the communication aspect of how you're going to tackle things, but because resources are slightly limited and all that, like having kind of knowing like who's doing what and why is really helpful. But also like very clearly they're listening, because from the first time we played to the second time we
Oh,
played,
yeah.
I mean,
Huge
things are changed
change.
in the game night and day, like how you progress and how quickly you can unlock weapons, like all of the whole economy of the game was changed. In really literally, like we played on a Thursday, it got patched, and when we played on Friday, it was such a different experience. So I do think that that's no fault of reviewers. Like they can only review the product that's in front of them. But I think that's where sometimes reviews are challenging in this style of a game, or this really just in this day and age, because you know the experience you have can change on a dime, but literally
Yeah.
overnight. And that's what we had. I think that things are in a pretty good place for it as far as progression, unlocking things. It still is a little slow for some of the abilities, but upgrading your weapons and kind of how you interact with the world, like that upgrades pretty quickly. And you can, kind of try out different things and see what's going to be a good fit for you. So I think overall, I think I think I like the experience more than the reviews have clearly liked the experience. And maybe it is because I've only played with friends. But I do think, especially since it's on Game Pass, since it's on PS Plus Extra, I think if you have the chance to play it, especially with other people, and you have any interest or are a fan in any way of, the Remedy universe, I think is worth a play for sure. But like I said, I do think if you just go in alone, you might not have as good of a time.
I agree with you on that. I'm trying to see how many people are streaming it right now on Twitch.
Five.
I'm not getting. Why don't they make this easier to see?
Well,
I
Josh, if it
didn't.
was easy, what fun would it be?
I should just check their main page, but I didn't do that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that makes it a little more challenging then.
I found the game and clicked it, and of course, it does what it should do. It takes me to someone playing the game.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, shame on me. Okay. All right. Forget about that. Yeah. So I really enjoyed our time playing that. And I agree. It's better with friends. I know that I think it did have some low numbers for stream, so I worry for its future, but I'm very happy with the time we spent with it so far.
Right now, I can tell you there are 107 people watching FBC Firebreak being played.
Yeah, that's very low.
There are 22 people streaming it.
Ugh. Okay. Yeah, that's not great.
Nope.
Not great. Not great. Great. Okay, and then last on my list, something else you're playing, or something I've finished ish. It's not really finishing the game. It is a Hades like. I'm just gonna call them Hades likes now because
I think, yeah,
that's what it is.
that's what it is.
Um, it's called Lost in Random: The Eternal Die. This is a sequel to Lost in Random, but a very different style of game. We talked about this last month because Kyle had played the demo that I had talked about a couple months before that. Now the full game's out. It's on Game Pass. I think it's included in a PS Plus tier.
No.
No, okay, just on Game Pass right now.
Yep.
Okay, um, and it's great. I really like it a lot. It's just it has a great story, especially if you've played the original game. and it's just cute and charming and challenging. Um, it adds some things that you wouldn't see in Hades, where it has a couple things. Well, it has a die that is with you, and you use him as your cast. If you do play Hades, your cast is the die. And how your die works is you cast your die, it lands on a certain number, and that causes it to deal a certain amount of damage depending on, well, one, the number it lands on, and two, the perks you might have associated with that die. For examples, I think his name is Pip, right? If you Pip lands on a six, he might erupt like a volcano and spit fire on bad guys. If he lands on a four, you might poison anyone around him. One of my favorite things on my build that I finished the game with, which was a lightning build, um, with the spear, was my Pip worked as a conduit between my distance between him and bad guys. So whenever I electrocuted people, it connected to my die, causing them more damage, and it would cause damage all across the map to people. So I wasn't always holding on to him. I was throwing him a lot and using him as a conductor. Um, it was a lot. It's boss fights very similar again to this style of game. You do a map run, and the map for this game you play through in basically die shaped areas, squares that connect to each other with bricks, cheese, with bridges. Some maps, some of the areas you go into have fights. Some of them have just obstacle course kind of thing you have to get through, a traps course. Some of them have merchants. Some of them have got characters you meet along the way. There's a lot of different things involved in there. And then ultimately you get to an exit, which leads you to a boss fight. And then rinse and repeat for, I believe, four biomes. I think it's four, maybe five.
I think it's 4.
Okay. Until you get to the big bad, the tainted die, the black die. Um, yeah, and you, yeah, say more, Kyle.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, this really is, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of like you said, this is taking the game Lost in Random and fitting it into a Hades style game, because there really isn't, I don't think, much this game is trying to do different than what Hades or other games within this genre does, right? It is the roguelike. You are slowly building and can unlock like different um abilities and different weapons, and kind of the cards that you unlock that give you different abilities, like as you go through the game, your cast with the die, like I guess maybe the upgrade portion of like you get these like runes that you slot into spots, and then like that I think maybe is slightly different,
Yeah,
but
and challenging.
yeah, and it is a challenging little mini game to kind of get all that to work. But what I think is this does nicely is that it, similar to this, like, well, when we look at like platformers like Mario and Sonic and Crash Bandicoot and like all these things, you're like, well, they're all just platformers. You're just running and jumping and doing the thing. It's like, well, sure, right. They're all just the same general thing, but
It's
they're
not
still
that black
doing
and
that
white.
thing well, right? Like, even if it is similar to other experiences, it's still doing it well, and I think they've done a really nice job with this game. Like, the story is interesting, the game feels great to play, the weapons feel very different. There are some that I'm good with, there are some that I'm not. The upgrades feel worthwhile and meaningful and helpful. The only thing for me that's a little, and maybe I just am not doing it right, that's a little kind of like meh, are like the costumes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like they like, yeah, you unlock them and you can get them, but they don't really change. It's not like they give you stats or buffs or abilities. Um, but with that being said, like the voice acting is very, very good. It's an interesting world that they've created. The biomes feel pretty different. The enemies in them feel pretty different. So I'm overall pretty impressed with this game. I know I was really looking forward to it after after playing the demo, but I didn't know if it'd hold up for like a full experience. And I'm pretty impressed. I actually think that, does this dethrone Hades from being the king of this genre? No. But I think this would have a really strong argument against any other entry in the genre, at least from my perspective.
Yeah. I agree with you on that.
So, how long? Because you have finished, yes. How when you finished, did you have like all the story? Like, did you have everything done, or is this very much like intended for you to go back and play more and play more and play more?
So it's pretty clear to you once you finish it, you can. So the goal is to get the black die and to destroy the black die. So
Yep.
you get the black die by defeating the bad guy, but you don't have to destroy it right away. But the game is also pretty clear. They're like, hey, if you do decide to destroy it, the game saves right before you do it.
Okay.
So when you go back to load your game, it's going to load you back to where you were in your run. And I'm trying to see if it tells me how long I played. Um, and then, yeah, you could just go back in and collect all the stuff you didn't collect. I had a pretty decent amount of a little of everything.
Yeah.
I think that there was something that I was missing a ton of, and I wanted to say it was probably the runes.
Oh, okay, I see that.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, which I love. I think it's great. Um, it's only 6 hours, 12 minutes. That's what my time was.
Oh, that's pretty well done then, sir.
I
That's pretty
got
good.
lucky. I got some pretty good builds
Gotcha.
in there. I know that not everyone's having as much luck as was having.
Hmm. Well, you're
Um,
also really good at Hades, though. So,
I would say I'm kind of good at Hades. Yeah, so I do have a little bit of that going for me. Um, it kind of does feel like watching like I feel like someone watching me play that game must think I'm a crazy person the way I play it. Like, um, but I can't control that.
so, but yeah, no, I think this is a great game. I think yeah, if you have Game Pass, I think it's a
Oh
definite
yeah, no
try.
brainer. Yeah,
And I think it's $25 if you buy it, and I think it's easily
great
worth that.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Any other games that you want to talk about, sir?
No, I've once again taken up too much of our time talking about games.
No, not at all, not at all. I'm going to go very briefly through mine because nothing here is super earth shattering. I did pick up Disney Illusion Island now that it came to other consoles other than Switch, and have been playing it with a partner. I would say we're probably a little over halfway through. What I did not realize about this game, and maybe I should have, and just but maybe I wasn't tuned in enough. I assumed this was just kind of like a pretty traditional platformer. I didn't realize that it's basically a really like light Metroidvania.
Yeah, it kind of is, right?
Yeah, right. Whereas like you're slowly unlocking different parts of the map, and you have to get different abilities to unlock different parts, and you're kind of working your way through that. I did not realize that. I don't. It's not hard by any means. I don't believe. I think that the challenge level is. I think if you have people who haven't played a ton of games or have young kids, maybe I think that there could be some challenge there for certain. But overall, I don't think it's too hard. Um, if you like Disney and you're into kind of, especially you have to like the new like aesthetic they use for Mickey and the crew and
The
stuff.
Ren and
And
Stimpy art style,
yeah, and some people don't like that, and I get it. They kind of did Goofy pretty dirty, especially.
Almost
But
literally.
yeah,
He
right.
looks
Yeah.
like
So
a dirty
yeah,
dog.
yeah, he's nuts. But yeah, it's not bad. I'm enjoying it. We're having a good time with it. So we will finish that before we kind of, like I said, I think the plan is to move on to Thunderfolk after that. But yeah, we're having a good time with it. And then the other thing that I picked up is that I obviously am a big fan of Vampire Survivors, and I've been waiting for something else that I can play on my portal while I'm working out. And finally, Soulstone Survivors fully released. So Soulstone Survivors is a quote unquote survivors game like Vampire Survivors. It's been in early access, I feel like, since like 2022 or something like that. And 1.0 finally dropped just like a couple weeks ago. And when they did that, they also released console versions of the game. So I have been playing that as kind of my game on my portal while I'm working out. Is there anything here that is drastically different than Vampire Survivors? No, not really. Other than in this, you do while you move around with the left stick, you do use the right stick to aim because you can aim. You have some everything just still procs on time, based off of time and things reducing, but you can kind of aim, certain attacks towards certain directions. There is a lot here for a 1.0, and I say that there's not anything different, but I say that like very in the sense of like this game still has hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay, because you do have, I think it's something like 24 different characters, all who have different weapons and abilities. They then you can unlock a screen of runes that I can't even tell you how many runes are on that screen. And then there is skill trees, and there are skill trees just generally that you have, but then skill trees for each character as well. And then there is like the typical game, like kind of like your typical mode that is very much like Vampire Survivors. We're going into a map, survive so long, yada yada, kill a certain number of baddies. But then each one of those has like probably 6 or 7 levels of like chaos difficulty, and for each of those chaos difficulties you have like 5 different things you can unlock within those, and then there's 3 other game modes beyond like that. I mean, so there's a ton here to do if you're into this style of game. So if you like a survivors type game, this is an easy recommend. There's a lot here for you to do. It's not rewriting the book on it, but what it does do, it does well, kind of like, Austin Random. What it's doing in the survivors genre is doing very, very well. It's a good time. I'm enjoying playing it. If you don't like survivors games, I don't think this is going to change your mind about them as far as that goes. So from a video game perspective, those are kind of the 2 other video games I've been playing. Other than I started replaying through Uncharted again because I don't know, I just really wanted to.
Well, that's hey, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. So, but on the board game side, then there are 2 board games that I've been playing that I just am going to very briefly mention. One of them is Bomb Busters. So Bomb Busters came out last year in 2024. It is a cooperative bomb defusal game where you and your partner, your other people playing, are trying to defuse a bomb. And the way this happens is you shuffle up a set of tiles, and these tiles are numbered 1 through 12, and there's 4 of each number. And then depending on the map, because this is kind of like a story based game almost. There's 66 different scenarios ostensibly that you go through. You kind of progress through them. Like 1 through 8 are your training, and then 9 on through you open these different boxes that add different abilities and like different situations into the games as you go. So it is kind of like these 66 game like challenges to work your way through. Um, but you in general you shuffle up these the 4 copies of 12 tiles, all numbered 1 through 12. And then you are incorporating a certain number of those are all blue wires. Then you're also incorporating a certain number of yellow wires and a certain number of red wires. You shuffle these all up, deal them out randomly, and then you set them up so that you are looking at them and no one else knows what tiles you have, what numbers you have, anything like that. And on your turn, is very simple. You do one of 2 things. You either do a dual cut, which means you point at a tile on the other one of the other person's trays that you can't see and say like, "I think this is a 12." And if it is a 12 and the one you're pointing to is a 12 and they take it out and they lay it in front, then you take the 12 from your board and lay it in front, and that's, you have successfully cut like blue wires. Um the goal is to get through every single wire that way without cutting the red wire
Oh my
accidentally.
gosh. One of these says 1.1 is a number.
Okay, so that's all the blue numbers are whole numbers 1 through 12. The yellow wires are like 1.1, 2.1, 3.1, and then the reds are point fives.
And you
Okay.
have to successfully guess a hidden fuse.
Yes,
Okay.
ostensibly. So what
All
you
right.
do is everybody at the start of your turn, at the very start of the game, you can identify 1 wire to everyone else. So you can say like, hey, this the very middle wire on my thing is a 5, right, or whatever it is. So you're trying to strategically think, and then you do have a player board in the center that's kind of like, it indicates, depending on the difficulty of the scenario you're in, it might tell you like exactly like what the yellow wires in the game are. So it might say like the yellow wires are 3.1, 5.1, and 7.1.
Gotcha.
Or it might say like, hey, there are, you know 3.1, 5.1, and 7.1. 2 of those 3 are actually in the game, right? So and it'll do the same thing for red, right? So you have some information. It's not that you have no information, you have some. But in a 2-player game, what is kind of um over the top is that you literally get 1 free guess to be wrong, and if you're wrong again, you lose. And if you are ever wrong and you accidentally cut the red wire, the game just ends. So with that being said, it's not really challenging in the sense of like literally you're like, okay, I'm going to point at that thing and say, I think this is this number. Or the other action you can take is that since you know there's four of any number, like if there's two nines out, let's say, and then you still have two nines in your board, you can do what they call a solo cut nines of just like there's only two left. I have them
Okay,
both, so I'm just
I
gonna
got
lay
you.
them down.
Yeah.
Right. But that's it. That's all you're doing. You just go back and forth doing that. Um, it is and you can't really talk otherwise, right? Like you're not supposed to give other information. It is one like any co-op game like this where it's kind of dealing with like I have the information I know, and you know people you're playing with have the information they know. That like we can't share information, but you're trying to like subconsciously be like, okay, the reason I picked the thing I did is so that hopefully you will think, you know,
Oh,
like going through like that whole thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's really fun. It's a really enjoyable game. I can see why it's gotten all the accolades that it has. The only thing I would say is a little bit fiddly is just setting it up because you're mixing up all these tiles at the start of every single game and then having to deal them out and make sure they don't flip accidentally and all of that good stuff. But I think it's a really easy game to teach. It's a really fun game. I think, you know, it is a quote unquote family weight game, which I think is or a family game, which I think is kind of funny because we're talking about blowing up, but that's fine, whatever. And everyone's like your like animals are who like the characters are that like are in the game, I guess. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's an easy recommend. It's really inexpensive. I think it's like $35 or $40. It does have like I said those 66 scenarios, and you know if you get sometimes people are like 66 scenarios, I can only play the game 66 times and then I can't play it
Oh,
ever.
no. What will
A,
I ever do with all
yes,
of my
go
free
ahead, get through those
time?
66 scenarios, but B, you can replay the scenarios because you have to shuffle up and deal the things every single time. So even if like where the you know yellows and reds are never don't change, like where they are on your boards change. So in theory, you could replay it over and over again if you wanted
Yeah.
to. But yeah, so Bomb Busters, pretty easy recommend. Really enjoy it. The other game then that we have been playing is a game called Core of Discovery.
Yeah, this has
Um,
my interest peaked.
yeah, and it's Core CORPS, Core of Discovery. So this is a game set in the world of Manifest Destiny, which is a comic series from Image, I believe. That is basically kind of an alternate universe take on the Lewis and Clark story. So it's like you're following like Lewis and Clark, like those characters, but like you are fighting like minotaurs and stuff, right? So it's a kind of this different take on this world. And this game is super interesting. So it's from the same publishers who did Harrow County and Mind Management. So it's you know
Oh, okay. Yep.
they make these really interesting games. But what you're doing in Core of Discovery is you have number one, the board setup is really unique in that you have this map that you put a they give you a secrecy sheet that you put over this piece of like all the maps come in this folder, and you slide the secrecy sheet over the map before you pull it out, and then you slide it into the game board, and then you put all these pieces on top of the game board that cover everything on the map, and then you pull out this secrecy sheet. So when you're starting, and we got the like super fancy version, the board you slide into is this really nice thick wood
Oh, really?
board. Is really cool. Like if you get the regular one, it's not quite as fancy, but same concept. You're still sliding into this thing. But then when you pull it out, like we're playing the first world, which is Fauna is the name of the world. And kind of our objective is like, hey, you have to kill 3 minotaurs. That's your objective to win the game. But how you do that is you are exploring, i.e., Manifest Destiny, kind of like going, you are exploring this map. But where everything is on the map is a logic puzzle. So what you'll find out is like, okay, you know, if we for the first group of puzzles, it's like, hey, you always start like in this one column. You can start anywhere in that column, but you start in this one column. So on your turn, you basically are like flipping over one of those dots that are covered on the map. So you flip over and reveal one of the pieces of the map, and let's say it's a stick. So now you have a stick as a resource. And then you have this group of free actions you can take. But if there's nothing else to do, then you just move on to the next person. They then can move up, down, left, or right from that stick to move on to the next piece. Let's say that they take the piece next to it and it's a water. So now you have a stick and a water. In order to like have the minotaurs come out, you have to find skulls. You have to find forts to give you the figure out the ways that you have to kill the minotaurs. But what is happening is while you're kind of exploring, you have this cheat sheet per se that's like, hey, um, anytime you find a stick, there's going to be a water up, down, left, or right of the stick. Anytime you find a teepee, there's going to be food diagonally adjacent from the teepee in one of the four spots.
Boy.
And
Like
that's
Minesweeper?
the whole thing is like like if you like for skulls, the up, down, left, right of them is always like everything is always a different thing. So you're not going to have repeated resources up, down, left, or right from a skull. So like it's this whole logic puzzle that in theory you have all the information you ever need to kind of get through these things, and while you're going, like, you have, the game happens over the course of multiple days. There's 3 events that happen each day. You have to have certain resources to resolve these events or bad things happen. Like, so you're like both trying to, like, okay, we need to get the resources to get this event done before it triggers so we can pass the event. But we also have to be trying to find these minotaurs, because like even if we pass all the events, if we don't kill the minotaurs, we don't win the game still. So, and then how the locations of things like change like every map. So like every map is different, like how, and though the main logic information stays the same, they add one like twist to it for each map of like how things locate next to each other.
Yeah.
It is like there are times where I'm just looking at Erica, I'm like, I have no idea where to go. Like, I just don't know. Like, I think this is here, and I think this is here, and I think this is here. But if we go here and this is wrong, then I don't know if like. So it's very simple in what you do, but just figuring out where to do it is where it gets really complicated. And with that being said, it's very hard. We failed both of the training scenarios that teach you how to play the game. We failed them both, and then we lost our first 2 games that we played within the game. We lost. But we have since won the next 3 we've played. So we're now 3 wins, 2 losses in the actual game itself. But I win on Board Game Geek because after we lost the first 2, I was like, I don't feel like there's a way we can win this. Like, how in the world are we supposed to win this game? Now, to be clear, I was having a great time, but I was like, how in the heck do we win this? And the sentiment very much is the game is very challenging. There was one person who was like, I have played 10 scenarios. I have lost all 10. Uh, so it's not easy, but it is very fun, and it's a pretty, though there are other games that are very much focused on this like logic puzzle, kind of like the Search for Planet X, Search for the Lost Species, like SETI. All of these are kind of doing something similar. The way this game does it, since it doesn't use an app like those games do, it just feels very different. Like it feels very kinetic, and you have this like paper that you're sliding into these things, you're chunking through all this stuff. It just feels really different than those games do. Whereas those games more, to me, though I enjoy them, they feel more like I don't know. They feel more like you're like solving this like math equation, whereas this one, because everything is just on paper in front of you, it feels more like a game to me.
Yeah.
It feels more like we're playing this game. As far as that thing goes, we're not looking at our phones all the time. We're not looking at this app all the time. Like, we're here, we're talking about what we're doing. And there are times where like you can't do everything. You just can't. So you have to then be like, okay, this event that's coming up, we're going to purposely fail that event because there's just no way for us to get it done. Or if we do, it's going to so hamper us from like being successful down the road. And so very rarely do games like so very rarely do games be like, no, you're going to have to lose sometimes, or like make small sacrifices now for the bigger win later.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just something that you don't see that often, and this game does it really, really well. So this is one of those games that I adore it. I'm having a wonderful time with it. I don't know that I would recommend it to everyone though, because it is very hard, and there are some people who are going to absolutely hate it. But I personally really, really enjoy it. Even when we were getting our teeth kicked in, I was still having a great time. So, Core of Discovery, I think this is one of those games that I would not just say, hey, you should buy it, you're going to have a great time. If you have a chance to check it out, there are plenty of playthroughs on YouTube for it right now. Check it out. That's how we found out about it. That's what caused us to jump in, because we watched the playthroughs and we're like, we seem like we're really going to enjoy it, and we have. So I think if you are interested, or that sounds at all interesting, check out one of those playthroughs, because it is pretty neat. It's pretty unique, and there's not a lot of other games that are doing this. And even those that are doing similar things, it feels really different than them. So, Core of Discovery. All right, Josh. With that being done, let's move on and start talking about some of the topics of the show. We'll start with some board game news, if you would. Lots going on in the board game world over the last couple of weeks. So let's start with the winners were announced for the Origin Award. So Origins, the game convention, happened just recently in Ohio. I think it's in Columbus. I think is where it is. And Origins, which is kind of put on by Gamma, which is the trade organization, the Game Manufacturers Association, kind of the professional organization for board games. They put on, both a convention and then they have these awards each year. They significantly changed their award categories for this year. So this is going to be some pretty different stuff from what they've done in the past. But they announced their winners. So for co-op solo game, the winner was Marvel United Multiverse from Come On. For gateway game, the winner was Seaside from Hachette. From party game, the winner was Flip 7. For heavy strategy game, the winner was Endeavor Deep Sea. For light strategy game, the winner was Fromage. And then for fixed constructible game, the winner was Compile Main 1 from Greater Than. And then for randomized constructible game, it was Magic the Gathering was the winner. Miniatures core product was Star Trek Into the Unknown. Miniatures Fool's Gold miniature Terrascape Gray. Nice. And then miniature paints from AK Interactive. RPG core product was Yaziba's Bed and Breakfast, and RPG supplement was Call of Cthulhu No Time to Scream. So obviously, we're most interested in the games that, not so much the RPG stuff and the mini stuff and all that good stuff. But Josh, had you had a chance to look over the winners, thoughts, any reactions to, who Gamma said is the best games of technically, these were the games that came out last year. So technically 2024. Thoughts on the results?
I guess I'm still surprised to see Marvel United up there. Um, Maybe I passed off all these expansions as just kind of filler expansions because I know this is the multiverse one.
Yeah,
I don't. Maybe they're adding different gameplay mechanics. I'm not sure. I have Marvel United. I haven't played it, which is no surprise to anybody. But uh, I feel like I keep hearing about it, like that it's pretty easy to learn, pretty fun to play, and there's so many different expansions. So maybe I should listen a little bit more and give it a shot.
here's what I'll say. I am also actually pretty annoyed that this won because pretty much what you said, this is just Marvel United again. Now, maybe they've made some tweaks. I don't know that for certain. But from everything I know, this really is just kind of like another big box version of Marvel United.
Yeah, and the implication is that there's not a one single better co-op or solo game out there
Right.
from all of one year.
right. And the fact that, Marvel United first came out in 2020 and this is like the fourth version of Marvel United since then. Um uh, it is a little interesting that if you go to the Board Game Geek page, it's not like it says it re-implements like Marvel United or anything like that. But from what I know, it is pretty much the same game as the other Marvel United games. So yeah, I'm a little annoyed that is what won, to be honest. So
Sure. I mean, it does strike me as odd. I'm unfamiliar with Seaside, but I'm going to look it up now. I'm very like I guess I have to buy Flip 7, right? Is that what it is? I have to buy it.
I think Flip 7 kind of is the game at this point that, yeah, you kind of just need to buy, I think.
I think I do. I think I do need to buy it. Okay, Seaside. Okay, very interesting
Yeah.
little bag game, huh? One token at a time. Create a dynamic seaside full of birds, shells. Oh, this is probably great for my son too. And waves. Draw a token from the bag and choose a side. Apply its effects and collect as many tokens as you can. Take on risks. Take some risks. The highest stack at the end wins. So I might
Yeah,
add
I think
both of
Seaside
these
is
to my thing.
is it's a pretty light game. I don't know that it's going to, blow anyone away. I mean, obviously this is the gateway game category, but it is kind of neat because you don't need a ton of space to play it. Like you're just literally making stacks of discs right in front of you. So it is kind of neat as far as that goes.
$31. So it's not cheap for a bag game.
It is a little. I think it's a little expensive for what it is. I think though that's also probably what it is on Hachette's site or like the
Sure.
main. Yeah, I'm wondering if it was be cheaper at Miniature Market or something
Flip
like that.
set. Yeah, I checked Amazon. Flip 7, $8.
Yeah, Flip
Easy.
7 is very cheap.
Add to cart. Piece
Yep.
of cake.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know. I don't know Fromage, but it's a late strategy game, so it's a war game. So I'm less interested in that. Endeavor, Deep Sea Endeavor's always been interesting to me. It seems like a big game that uh, I would never get to play. So I like looking at pictures of it instead.
Um, and fromage is about cheese.
Oh, and okay, well, that makes
Yeah,
more sense.
yeah, fromage is about cheese. It's from just to give you an idea.
I was thinking
It's a light
Golmage
euro.
from Expedition 33. That's my defense.
Oh, gotcha. It is a light euro. The designers of it are the same folks who made like Between Two Cities, Search for Planet X, Search for Lost Species, like those games. So from a heaviness standpoint, I feel like it's
Ooh,
probably roughly in line with those things as well. So
yeah, it actually has a pretty cool table presence.
yeah, it's a neat looking game. I like cheese and I like euros, so it is a game that I'm interested in. I just haven't gotten to yet. So
Does look like viticulture to me a little bit for the
yeah,
player board.
yeah, I can see that for sure. So yeah, and then Endeavor is a game. They have a Kickstarter. I think the Kickstarter is still going on right now for you can get Endeavor Deep Sea plus its new expansion. And I don't know. I like a good heavy game. I don't know if I'm going to back it or not. I have so many
You
games.
got to save your money for Vantage when eventually
Oh,
it
that's true.
drops.
Actually, I do really want to get Vantage. That's pre-orders for that should be coming in July. So maybe I will wait on that. So, but yeah, but overall, like I said, I think pretty solid because, like I said, Fromage, and Endeavor and Flip 7 really, I think all of these for the most part. Seaside, I think, is the game that maybe just is a little surprising in the sense of, um, it is a very very light game that I don't know. It just wasn't so much on my radar, but. Like I said, I'm a little annoyed about the whole Marvel United thing.
Sure, and I think I'm right there with you.
So, but I guess, I mean, I guess if that's what people pick, though, too, I shouldn't be that annoyed, but I am for some reason.
Well, you don't know what people picked, and maybe it's the wrong people. Maybe they also need to be cross trained and moved out of there.
That's true. That's true. All right. So, those were the Gamma Awards. So they made their awards at Origin. So I guess those are the Origins Awards from Gamma that got announced. But they weren't the only people who were getting into the board game, award situation. The Dice Tower announced their nominees for their 2024 awards. And the winners will be announced at Gen Con in August. But tons of games that they announced. So we're going to go through this very quickly. And I'm going to start from the bottom and work the way up here. So to start with, the Dice Tower does have their own Hall of Fame that they just started in the last couple of years. And they're inducting two more games into the Hall of Fame. Those two games are Patchwork and Splendor. Seem like
Oh,
pretty great picks. What are your thoughts on, Patchwork and Splendor making it into the Hall of Fame?
yeah. I mean, they're great games, and they're great entry level games. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so there's gonna be a lot of games here that are gonna be A that we just talked about, but B also games that are gonna be repeated multiple times through this. But for best production, the nominees were Andromeda's Edge, Fractured Sky, River of Gold, River Valley Glassworks, and Unconscious Mind. Josh, any thoughts on best production?
Boy, um, I think I can only think of River Valley Glassworks in my head because I've seen it a bunch.
Yeah,
But I believe so. Fractured Sky is by the people who did like Moonrakers, I think, right?
I believe that
Uh,
is
I
right. Yes.
I think, but I know Andromeda's Edge has been getting a lot of buzz, so it's probably maybe will be Andromeda's Edge, but
Yeah, I mean, Fractured Sky is pretty cool looking from a production standpoint, because it has all these like tiered like trays that are
oh
in
right,
it.
right, yeah,
So I think that might take it. But who knows? Who's to say? But yeah, it's the same folks who did Moonrakers. They definitely put together a good production. What is surprising to me about many of these nominees is some of these are really inexpensive games in the sense of like River of Gold and like River Valley Glassworks are like $40.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
and
not,
they sell them at Target.
yeah. So usually these best production games are really expensive, like massive, productions. But most, Andromeda's Edge sure is probably like 70 or 80. But I mean, for the most part, none of these are like really, really over the top expensive games. So that's kind of neat to see that we're seeing really high levels of production kind of float down to these, more affordable price points, which is awesome. Oh,
Fractured Sky looks really good.
yeah, Fractured Sky looks very cool. Absolutely, it does. So, which isn't surprising because Moonrakers also is an incredible looking production. So, all right. So, best reprint are Finca, Middle Ages, Rebel Princess Deluxe, Skyrise, and Through the Desert. Josh, any thoughts on best reprint?
I didn't know Skyrise was a reprint,
I'll be honest, I don't know that I did either.
so I'll give him credit for that. Like, I think it looks great. I mean, great enough, good enough for me to buy it, right? So, um, uh, yeah, I, I guess I'll go with Skyrise for just like not being knowledgeable about the other ones.
No, that sounds good to me. So, this next one will be interesting. Best artwork: Explorers of Novaria, Harmonies, River of Gold, Rock Hard 1977, and Unconscious Mind. I feel like Unconscious Mind is going to win this because you have Andrew Bosley and Vincent Dutrait, two very well known illustrators, but basically, kind of each one took half of the game in the sense of one designed and did the art for like the quote unquote real life stuff, and then the other did the art for everything that's being like imagined or like projected in the player's head. So that it is like two distinct styles that still meld pretty well together. So as a result, I feel like Unconscious Mind probably is going to win this. But do you have any thoughts, sir?
I think Harmonies looks super cool. I really like that art style. Also, I would say Unconscious Mind has a little bit of that too.
Yeah,
So, Unconscious Mind a much bigger table presence than Harmonies, but I really like. Unconscious Mind, the art style is more realistic. I really like. I like the more fantastical art style of Harmonies. I think.
right. Yeah, and not that oh gosh, is it Maeva da Silva? I think is the artist for Harmonies, and I think Harmonies is a beautiful game. I actually picked it up recently. I just haven't gotten a chance to get to the table yet. I think Andrew Bosley and Vincent Dutrait are just like such well-known artists in the game industry that not that people would purposely then vote for them just because of that, but I
Right.
feel like that might impact that. So all right. So, best new designer. The nominees are Flip 7, River of Gold, Rock Hard 1977, SETI, and Slay the Spire. All of these are games that people adore. So, Josh, who do you think might take home best new designer?
My guess would be Flip 7 just off of the buzz. And like we now know like it doesn't need to be a giant game to win awards, especially in the board game area. So uh and he looks so happy in all of his photos, so I want him to win.
That's a good reason. That's as good a reason as any. So I think for me, I really part of me wants to say that I think that Thomas Holick is going to win for SETI just because Thomas Holick, first time best new designer. He also released basically 3 games in the same year because he designed SETI, he designed Galileo Galilei, and he designed Tea Garden. All of which came out last year, all of which are really highly regarded. And I know he's being nominated just for SETI, but it seems like, I mean, the guy had 3 games come out and he's a brand new designer. I feel like that means something. I wonder though if Jackie Fox might win this just because, former rock star, now designing a board game about being a rock star. From all intents and purposes, I hear Rock Hard 1977 is great. I haven't had a chance to play it, but I wonder if she might sneak that. But it also, like, Slay the Spire people love. So who knows? Who knows who's going to win? All right. Best theming, Endeavor Deep Sea, Let's Go to Japan, Rock Hard 1977, SETI, and Unconscious Mind. Like I said, you're going to start hearing a few of these names pretty regularly. Any thoughts, Josh, on best theming?
I mean I think it's SETI. It's for me it's SETI. Like SETI is just every time I look at it I want to play it. Every time I hear someone talk about it, I want to play it. And when I talk about it and I don't see it, I want to look at it. uh,
Yeah.
I think it like nails the theme from what I can see. Um, it just looks like super cool. But I think those are all. I think those are all good nominees. Um, any of them could take it. I think just like you said for like new designer.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and pick Let's Go to Japan
Yeah,
as the
also a
winner for
very
this.
great looking game.
It's a great looking game, and also like from people have literally used this board game to plan their actual trips to Japan, like, and understand like where things are and like what things might exist and kind of how to do all that. So I feel like if the theming is so good that like people are able to use the game to do the thing the game is trying to get you to do in the game, I feel like that's pretty good. Yeah. All right. So best party game, caution signs, duck and cover, flip 7, link city, and things and rings. I feel like flip 7 has this, but Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking at all the other games and they look just like kind of regular fine. I mean,
Yeah,
so does Flip 7. I'm not trying to say that it doesn't. It also
sure.
looks like a regular fine card game. Just it seems to be resonating with people more, and maybe I'll find out why. But everything else looks kind of just
Right. I agree. I think, yeah, flip 7. Best cooperative game, Bob Busters, The Gang, Leviathan Wilds, The Mandalorian Adventures, or Primal The Awakening. I feel like you have, games like Primal the Awakening, which are huge, massive, like boxes with tons of miniatures, and then you have, Bomb Busters, which I mentioned is like this like family weight, like cooperative, fun little game. Yeah, I don't know. I think Bomb Busters might take it just because it's going to be a little bit more accessible to more people, and more styles of players, especially when we're talking about cooperative and kind of who all votes on this. But Josh, what do you think? Who might win? Best co-op here?
I'm looking at this Primal game,
Yeah.
and boy, does it just make me angry.
Why does it make you angry?
Because it's another game that you're not all in unless you're in at $1,200.
Right. Yeah. Which is why I was like, I don't know. Like, it might be the better game than Bomb Busters, but
No,
I don't.
we're in such a point where like more isn't better. It's quantity over quality, and like those miniatures look great when
Yeah.
they're painted. uh, I mean, I'm more inclined to lean towards your opinion with Bomb Busters, but
Yeah.
I've heard great things about the Mandalorian Adventures. I just think like I kind of get turned off now by the adventure book things.
Oh, yeah.
Because it feels like it shouldn't. It feels like it's a gimmick that was latched onto, but originally it's coming from something that wasn't a gimmick.
Hmm.
So they're taking like Mice and Mystics and they're making it a gimmick, and so many people are copying it and not getting it right. So it makes me sad a little bit
So, Josh, sorry, I was flipping through the Primal stuff while you were talking about
with the
Mandalorian.
kid in the boxes next to
The
him.
kid where the boxes
Yeah,
are like taller than he is.
my daddy bought this,
My daddy
and
bought this.
I can't go to preschool this year.
Yeah, and but what's funny is that it's like the main box, but then like the smaller boxes are stacked two, so it's not even
Yeah,
like as tall as it could
it
be
would
because
be
it could be
way
like
higher.
literally like twice as tall.
Yeah.
So, but hey, listener, if you want to, Amazon does have the Kickstarter core version of Primal available for only $599.
Oh, the core version, good. So
Yeah,
you
so,
almost get half of the things.
so there you go. But yeah, I just don't know. Kind of like you said, I mean, the Mandalorian Adventures is I've heard really great things about. I just really think that Bomb Busters seems to have the zeitgeist. So we'll see if that holds. But that's kind of where I think people might go. All right, we're getting towards the end here, kind of. Most innovative game: Bomb Busters, the Gang, Harrow County, SETI, and Xylotar. Uh, I am going to go Harrow County on this. I just think that they did some really cool things with this. Again, kind of the same publishers as Core of Discovery that I'm playing right now. It just really neat things, and the designer of Harrow County is the same person who did Mind Management and Junk Art and things like that. So just really Jay Cormier, I think. Just really unique things. So I think that might win. But Josh, what are your thoughts?
I will agree with you. I don't have strong thoughts on that. So I looked at Xylotar, so I wouldn't pick that. Uh, so I'm happy to go. I'll agree with you on that one.
Okay. Best solo game: Andromeda's Edge, Draft and Write Records, Kingdom Legacy, Primal the Awakening is coming back, and Unconscious Mind. Any thoughts, Josh, on best solo game?
Not really. Solo games. Boo.
Wow, booing solo
Kingdom
games. Eh?
Legacy looks pretty cool, but yeah, I don't want to be like this one because I won't play any of them.
Yeah, I want to vote for Kingdom Legacy because it's just like it is a true just solo only game. So that's what I'm going to vote for. I think that this might be where, if we have a solo game win, or if Primal wins, like this might be where it does win. So
Yeah,
all right, best two-player game: Guest of Robin Hood, Agent Avenue, Kelp Shark versus Octopus, Lord of the Rings: Duel for Middle Earth, and Star Wars Unlimited. I feel like potentially this is a battle between Kelp and Lord of the Rings, but Josh, what do you think?
yeah. I agree with you. I can't explain to you why I really want to play Star Wars Unlimited really badly, but
Uh
I
huh.
do. Um, and that is irrelevant to this conversation, but I wanted to say it. I think Lord of the Rings Duel will take it because of the license, but I've heard and seen a lot of great things for Kelp.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote Kelp. People seem to really like that game. Obviously both Kelp and Lord of the Rings are both asynchronous dual games, but yeah, I just think Kelp seems really cool. It's on my short list of games to pick up, so that's what I'm gonna go with. All right, best strategy game. Hey, look us back. Bomb Busters. Fromage, again, about cheese, River of Gold, SETI, and Unconscious Mind. I think here I'm going to go with Unconscious Mind or maybe SETI, but I'm going to go with Unconscious Mind for best strategy game here. Josh, any thoughts?
I'm gonna go SETI because I just really want to play it.
Yeah,
It
it
looks
looks
so cool.
awesome. Best small publisher: Captain Flip, Galileo Galilei, Slay the Spire, Unconscious Mind, or Wondrous Creatures. Showing up for the first time here. Josh, any thoughts on best small publisher? Wondrous Creatures actually looks really cool. It's one of those that is on. I feel like I've said lots of the games are on my short list, but this definitely is as well. It's a really, yeah, Wondrous. The box looks like a book.
Oh yeah, it's little. It's tiny. I like it. It looks pretty cool. Oh, it has little funny meeples and dragons. Cool. Yeah. Hey, I'm picking that one.
All right, that sounds great. Like I said, I've heard really good things
Oh,
about
and
it.
they have a picture of a cat on the table. People love that. I hate that, but people love that.
Yeah, yeah, cool. All right. Best welcoming game: Castle Combo, Cities, The Gang, Harmonies, or River Valley Glassworks. I'm gonna pick Harmonies for this. But Josh, do you have any thoughts on best welcoming game?
I'm inclined to pick harmonies too, but I think like River the River Valley Glassworks is a game I almost always buy every time I'm in Target.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know how welcoming it is in general. So I'll lean towards harmonies with you based off of word of mouth.
yeah, I've heard good things. Like I said, River Valley Glassworks, I've also heard very good things about. It's very light. Obviously, we're talking here about welcoming games, so it's not surprising. But Harmonies, I've just heard wonderful things about. I'm eager to play it. I have it sitting on my shelves waiting. It is actually unwrapped, so it's close. It's almost getting
Whoa!
played. But between Bomb Busters, which has, like I said, 66 scenarios, and Core of Discovery, which we bought the expansions with it, so we have six packets of maps, and each packet of maps is 10 to 20 maps. So like I don't know what we're gonna get done with that either. But anyway. All right, and then game of the year. This is a big group, and none of these are new games. They're all things we've heard. But Andromeda's Edge, Bomb Busters, Fromage, Harmonies, Lord of the Rings: Duel for Middle Earth, River of Gold, River Valley Glassworks, Rock Hard 1977, SETI, and Unconscious Mind. Josh, who do you think's gonna win game of the year?
Oh, I bet it will be Lord of the Rings. But let's say I'm gonna will SETI to win.
I'm gonna try to. I think Unconscious Mind might win. Lord of the Rings is actually a really good pick because it might be accessible enough that everyone who's voting on this will be okay with it, right? Like it's the game that makes everyone's list, even if it's not the top of anyone's list. But it probably will be the top of some people's. But I think from what I know, feels like Unconscious Mind might steal it. People who like that game really like that game, and we'll see if they can convince other people. So but hey, those are all the nominees. The Dice Tower Award winners are going to be announced, like I said, at Gen Con on August 7th as the date. So when we do our August episode, we'll definitely let you know who wins. With that, just a couple of very brief other kind of wrap up things. We talked about previously on the show that Asmodee obviously is going independent again. and they've talked about their desire to purchase other companies. Well, they haven't done that yet, but Asmodee did buy IP. So Simon, or Come On, has started to sell off some of their IP. We've talked about the struggles that they've been having. So Asmodee bought Zombicide. So the entire Zombicide IP now belongs to Asmodee. And then Tabletop Tycoon, who shortly after doing this changed their name to Tycoon Games, also basically bought the entire Eric Lang catalog of IP from Come On. So Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Ankh, and then also the Arcadia Quest games, so Arcadia Quest and Starcadia Quest.
So what does Come On make now? Just Marvel United?
I pretty much I think so. Yeah, like it is interesting because Zombicide was obviously a huge line for them. The Eric Lang trilogy was huge. You know, Arcadia Quest we hadn't seen as much recently, but still a really well known and well appreciated game. So you know, we had made the I mean, I don't want to say joke, but we had talked about whether or not Come On was still going to exist. You know, just with all the struggles they were having when they had announced that they were, you know, not going to start continue to work on future games. They were just going to kind of fulfill what they currently had, you know, made commitments to, and now we see that they're selling off IP. It is clear that if they do continue to exist, it's not going to be in any similar to the state that they currently are. So, what are your thoughts, Josh, on Come On selling IP both to Asmodee and to now what is Tycoon Games? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you said it. I think we kind of predicted it to a degree.
Yeah,
Like they couldn't very well go on the way they were going on. So regardless of their size and their decisions, it's still a bummer to see stuff like that happen in the game industry. But I guess we were surprised.
yeah. Um, Zombicide has earned more than $40 million on Kickstarter over its different iterations, and
Yeah, it's
I mean,
insane.
if you're willing to sell that, I think that probably says kind of what situation you're likely in. So, all right. So with that, Josh, we're gonna move and we're gonna talk about video games. There's a ton of things we could be talking about from a news situation. All of them are pretty depressing. Not gonna lie. So I said, hey, we're not gonna talk about the news. We're gonna talk about other things instead. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of have two slightly bigger topics. First one is we're gonna talk about our kind of 5 favorite trailers from all the Summer Game Fest stuff. So that includes the PlayStation show, state of play, like the Keeley thing, Xbox's showcase. And if you
Keely.
watch Day of the Devs, like anything else that you may have watched. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about, now that the kind of schedule for the year is falling into place pretty clearly. Maybe some things will still be added, but just kind of what we're looking forward to for the second half of the year as we're, you know, rolling into July here. So first things first, though, we'll start with trailers. Josh, how much of the Summer Games Fest did you watch? How much of it did you catch later? General thoughts on kind of the announcement season as a whole. This kind of Christmas in June for gamers. What were your thoughts overall on it? And how much of it did you watch?
I watched pretty much. Well, I shouldn't say pretty much everything. I watched a lot, all the big stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't really dive into. Usually, like I catch the trailers like after like the PC one and the I'm trying to like female led gamers one and then
Oh
the
yeah.
cozy games ones. So like we kind of sit down and watch all those things. So yeah, I mean I watch a ton of stuff. Too much to remember, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Sure. And overall thoughts on it? Did you think this was a good year, not good year? Like, what were your thoughts overall on all the stuff that you saw?
I think it's a confusing year. I think it was okay. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about what's coming out this year versus next year versus at all versus what it's going to be on versus who's making it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that going on, or at least for like some of these like first looks we got and things like that. A lot of the stuff can change between now and then, but overall, nothing mind blowing. I don't think. I could certainly be forgetting some of the bigger ones, but I can't say that anything blew me away. There were certainly some things that caught me off guard, and I was very impressed by. But uh, I don't think not like years past.
Gotcha. Well then, sir, I have a couple other things I'll probably ask you at the end here, but let's just go back and forth. Like I said, I asked us to each bring kind of 5 trailers. What I did, I'll be honest, I tried to pick 5 things that um I maybe wasn't interested in already that I am now interested in, if that makes sense. Because there were some of these things that we had seen before. And so I'm not saying these were like the best 5 trailers, but these are the 5 trailers that I was like, hey, this is now a game I'm going to be following
Yeah.
or interested in as we go forward. How did you pick your 5?
No specific metric.
Okay. No, that's fine.
um, but a little bit of what you said, a little bit of what maybe caught my attention for something maybe I knew about that I didn't want to play, or something that I already knew about. I didn't put Metal Gear Solid on my list.
Okay. So Josh, what's your first game then?
My first game is Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, a
Yeah.
game I had no clue existed, and I thought we were getting another X Men versus Street Fighter game. Um, and it's just X Men fighting game, well, a Marvel fighting game.
Marvel, yeah.
But you know what? It made me think. It reminded me of something that really bummed me out. There was a Capcom fighting game that came out only on the Wii U or Wii on the Wii,
Okay.
and it was by. It might not be the same studio, but it was the same idea. It was like the Gundam guys, but this in their suits,
Okay.
and it was against Street Fighter and Marvel guys, and I never got to play that game. 'Cause I don't even know if it released in the United States. It began with a T, I think. I can't think of the name. It was in Japanese. Um, I wish I could remember it. I could have just looked it up, I guess. Um, it looks great. This new game, the Marvel took on, I think looks really great from what they showed.
Yeah.
But I was like, having not even known this existed, I was enthralled the whole time it was going on. And even rewatching it now, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, that was, he said I didn't know, like nobody from the what I know, nobody knew this was a thing. Like this isn't a thing that leaked. I don't, I keep up with PlayStation pretty closely. This was not a rumor that was out there. People had been talking about like Arc Systems was like kind of like a studio that people had talked about maybe PlayStation acquiring back in the day when PlayStation was going through all its acquisitions, when they, especially when PlayStation picked up Evo, it was like, okay, obviously PlayStation is very committed to the fighting game genre. Obviously, they showed, during their state of play, their first ever first party fighting stick. So it was like, oh, that was kind of a weird thing to randomly show in the state of play. Well, now that all makes a ton more sense when you see that they have this game they're working on with Arc and Marvel, and the fact that it is PlayStation 5 and PC on day one is pretty is good to see as far as that goes. But yeah, this was a big surprise. You're obviously a bigger fan of fighting games than I am. I will just say the art direction in this game is incredible. The game looks amazing. And I just hope that those who are into fighting games enjoy it, because I know obviously the whole Marvel versus Capcom is a much loved franchise that has not existed in some time. So hopefully this can at least kind of bridge that gap a little bit as far as that goes. So very cool. My first game that I'm going to pick, like I said, most of them are kind of weird. I'm going to pick. This was at Keeley's show. And these are in no order other than whatever I wrote them down as. And that is the game called Out of Words, which I always want to call Out of Worlds, but it's Out of Words. It's the stop motion co-op platformer where
Oh,
everything,
yes.
yeah.
Still in mouth shut.
Yep, exactly. So obviously, I've been playing more and more video games with my partner. Obviously, we had a wonderful time with Split Fiction earlier this year. Um, Chances are that game is going to be very high on my like favorite games of the year list. So I'm just always looking for new, interesting, cool ways to be able to play games with my partner. And this looks like just one more of those. I really like the fact that Hazelight has seemed to usher in this idea of like it's okay to just make a straight up co-op game that people have to play in co-op. And I like that. I'm a fan of that. And I want to continue to support developers doing that. This game looks really unique. The art direction is very cool. 2026, sure, that's fine. Would I love it this year? All these things I would love this year, but yeah, looking forward to it. So, Out of Words was one that I was not aware of, and now I'm keenly interested in. So, Josh, what's another one for you?
All right, I'll stick with the weird Keeley show, and I'm gonna pick a weird game that I also didn't know existed, but it seems to fall into this new genre of game I find myself really enjoying. Speaking of having fun with us, one person, with my kick on like Repo and all these other games,
Oh, yeah.
Killer In
Yeah.
really just is so intriguing to me. I'm really curious how it's gonna play. Um, but some of the mechanics where like there's like a part where they show two people, like someone kills someone, then they high five the other person
Right.
and hug, and then that person chloroforms them and kills them. So it's like it seems like it has this whole playing with this whole Among Us idea,
Uh-huh.
with other games like Deceive Inc. or stuff that didn't really hit its mark. Um, I really hope it's successful because it looks like a ton of fun and it looks like a lot of players get to play at the same time. And and it looks like you have to like work together to get through the actual the inn that you're in as well. So I think it looks very cool.
Awesome. Good pick. Good pick. Um, my next one is also from the Keeley show. Um, and I'm just gonna say the name, and I want to see if you know what game I'm even talking about. End of Abyss. I would just say no. Okay, so End of Abyss is being published by Epic Games. And it's like this moody, atmospheric game. It kind of looked like I always hate using like Inside and things like that, but it was this very like moody, where a lot of what they showed initially was like side scrolling, but then it seems to be like this kind of top down or three quarters down like action game, kind of maybe like twin stick shootery, but very slow paced. And it's like you're like this kid or something walking like with these people who have like backpacks, and then you would shoot something and then it would like split in two and then you have to fight two of them. Like, I don't know much
How
about
did I
this
miss
game.
that?
Like, I don't know too much about this game. It was a very short trailer. It was like a minute long. It is very like it's very blue and gray. Really kind of interesting looking. I think it very much was a blink and you miss it type of a game.
Sure.
But these are just the kind of things that I really enjoy. I kind of like these quirky, like, going through these weird worlds, kind of that in some ways, like that mix between a straight up twin stick shooter shmup style to something a little less like, where Hades kind of feels like it fits in that vein as well. But yeah, this just was a game that I was like, whoa, I like sat up, was like, this seems atmospheric, this seems moody, this action seems like action I'd be interested in. So yeah, again, another 2026 game, but yeah, End of Abyss, something I'm definitely interested in.
Okay, I want to put in a cheat. I'm not. This isn't on my 5 games.
That's fine.
My magnet. I just got magnetized to my mic. Um, I just want to mention how excited I got for Wu Tang Rise of the Deceiver. There's not enough that they showed for me to have warrant putting it on my top 5 exciting things from the
Right.
show, but I am very excited to check this
Wasn't
game out.
Wasn't the rumor that that game was gonna be an Xbox Studios game? Or that, like,
I
Xbox was helping with that in some way?
I don't know. I generally avoid the rumor mill.
Okay.
Um, Possibly.
That's why I was just surprised to see it show up, at the Keeley show, because like, there's been rumored that there was gonna be, like, a Wu-Tang game again, like, kinda in the works. But yeah, what I had heard is that it was kind of an Xbox, like, published or funded, or they were helping in some way, and maybe they still are. But yeah, this didn't seem to indicate that they were. But yeah, I'll be very curious to see what this is.
Yeah, it looks the little bit of combat we saw looks really cool. I mean, I how could I not say Resident Evil 9, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
they come
I was gonna ask
out,
what you thought about that, so
they make a thing about saying like, "Hey, sorry guys, there's no way we're announcing Resident Evil 9." And
right.
everyone knows Capcom has a show coming up. So they're like, "Yeah, of course, why would they?" And then they surprise us with this. I would say, quite frankly, incredible trailer
Yeah, it was a great trailer.
where it just captures. Well, first, it just captures this curiosity. Like, what is this game? Is it like a Alan Wake 2 spinoff? Like, as it starts in the FBI, I was like, is this an X Files game? Like, what is this going to be? And then we just kind of dive right in. And they said, I think they say her name, like Ashmore. I'm like, wait a second. I told my wife, I'm like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? Um, so that was a great trailer. It really caught me off guard. It really surprised me. That's the kind of stuff that we look for, in my opinion, for in these like big shows, and this certainly was effective for me.
Yeah. And I mean, yes, it's a 2026 game, but February 2026. So it's not like you have that long to wait.
Well, yeah, closer-ish.
I did when they started that trailer. I did not necessarily know it was a Resident Evil game,
Same.
but I felt like it was at least an RE Engine game
Okay,
because
that's
I'm
fair.
like it looks like Resident.
The facial like
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
yeah. So I was like, I don't know if this is actually Resident Evil, but it looks like that engine at least. Cool. All right. Well, Josh, my next one is going to be I struggle because I wanted to pick two games from this showcase, but I'm only picking one, and the reason I'm picking one, I'll talk about afterwards. Um, but I am picking Luminous Arise from the PlayStation State of
Okay.
Play.
Yeah, yeah.
I like puzzle games. I've always enjoyed puzzle games. And you know, Tetris Effect is an amazing game. Tetris Effect is so good. And Enhanced just really knows how to make effective puzzle games, and kind of in that taking Tetris Effect, that style of like immersion, and putting it connecting it with Luminous just like makes sense. Now, the only reason I'm not super I suck at Luminous. I'm so bad at the game. Like I get it, but I don't get it. But this really makes me want to be better at it. So I was kind of surprised. I know it is interesting because I look at like the feedback about that state of play, and I thought it was really good. And then I saw a lot of feedback being like it's not very good. And then I'm like, how I wonder if like how long you've played PlayStation, if that would determine or change like what you thought of it. Because there was a lot of like more like weird, quirky, um, and some like long tentpole things of like, yes, we knew everybody's golf was coming and things like that. Like we knew that Final Fantasy Tactics had been rumored forever to come back, but just a lot of things that PlayStation used to be known for, plus like having a couple like big like AAA like hitters in it. I thought it was a really good showcase. I was like, yeah, this is kind of like what I go to PlayStation for. But then seemed like the internet disagreed with me, which is fine. So,
They
but yeah,
always do.
they do. But yeah, Luminous Arise, I'm really excited for this fall. So that was another trailer for me. All right, Josh, what about for you, sir? What's next?
Hey, Clockwork Revolution, man. What the heck?
Man,
This
that
game
game
looks
looks so good.
incredible. I didn't know anything about it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like teased before in the past, but and I didn't pay
Yeah,
attention.
this is there had been a teaser trailer for it. I think 2 years ago there was like a tone trailer for it, but that
So
was it.
maybe I
We hadn't
just
seen any
forgot
gameplay or anything. Yeah.
because like at first glance it's like, oh yeah, it just looks like a BioShock Infinite
Yeah.
grab, and it seems to be a lot more than that.
Uh-huh.
I was just really blown away with the characters, the dialogue, some of the things that happen in the trailer, the over the top of it all. I'm not a big steampunk guy, but I also appreciate steampunk. Like I can appreciate the art style and like all that. So I really like that idea. I'm not going to be suiting up in like top hats and stuff, but um, uh, I think it looks great. I think it takes it looks like it's taking the stuff that we really like from like that the Bioshock Infinite game and like giving it its own fully realized story separate from that universe in like a certainly like different Earth, different maybe it's not Earth, different galaxy. It just looks so darn cool and like they showed a lot of what I imagine is in-game stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
mixed with see like cutscenes and things, and I think it looks incredible.
Yeah. I that game is not on my list only because I felt like that was such an obvious one. Like,
Obvious.
I mean, like that trailer was incredible. Um, I think Xbox's showcase was good. I just think that where they put things was such a mistake, and the fact that that was not your
Oh, you're
closer,
not
even if it had
kidding.
been a shorter
Yeah,
version of that,
yeah.
like that was such an incredible trailer. Like it was so good, and I think with in Exile, like I don't really like I don't play the style of games they've typically made. I don't play CRPG. Like I'm not like a Wasteland person, but man, the people who like those games always say that really good, and that they have like really excellent role playing, and that choices really matter, and like all that stuff. So like seeing them now take this to a different style game, like I'm very confident that that game is probably going to be very good, and is I think probably the game I'm most looking forward to from Xbox in general. But like we'll see I mean, is that with what Phil said at the end of that showcase? Is that even a 2026 game? You know, like
I don't want to don't even started with that guy.
so okay. Well, one thing I'm going to pick then from the Xbox showcase is actually Keeper, the next game from Double Fine.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know, a lot of people who love Double Fine really love Tim Schafer. I think Tim Schafer is great, but this is a Lee Petty joint, and I actually really like Lee Petty's games. Stacking and Rad and Headlander, like the games that he kind of is in charge in and takes some sort of leadership in, I really enjoy. I think I might even like them better than other games. So
I wonder what games though you could be
well,
referring
just
to.
saying, like other, like I like Tim Schafer, but his games haven't always jived with me as much. I actually, like I said, I like Lee Petty's games that he's had up from Double Fine a little
I
bit
get
more.
it. Kyle hates Psychonauts 1 and 2.
I don't
It's
hate him.
fine.
I just so yeah, so I'm really interested in this. I think it's weird, it's quirky, it's kind of exactly what I look for when I'm thinking of like games from like Double Fine. Like it fits right into that. Yeah, and I think the trailer is what it is. If you look at it, you're like, that seems weird. I'm like, yeah, it does. Let's
Yeah,
play it. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of my thought on it. And the fact that it's later this year is awesome. So October, I mean, Xbox stacked October pretty hardcore, but I am looking forward to playing Keeper. So
There was a lot. I will say this. There's a lot of that Xbox show that I really liked. Um, so forgive me for not making my last choice an Xbox one,
okay.
but I really did want to put There Are No Ghosts at the Grand as my fifth pick.
That was at the Xbox show, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
looks
okay.
great. But it's not. It's not my pick. Why am I
Oh,
keep
it's not
going?
your pick. Okay.
No, I really wanted to, but I have to go and be cliche and pick the big tentpole game that is 007 First Light. Talking about you starting to play Uncharted again, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so. This is why it's big for me. One, I would say, arguably, GoldenEye is the only good James Bond video game.
Yeah.
You could make a case for at first sight. What was that one called? Not
I
no.
think I think that's right. Yeah.
Whatever that
Yeah.
Agent Under Fire. Agent Under Fire. You
Oh,
can make
okay.
a case for Agent Under Fire. I don't think it's a good James Bond game. I think it's a fine shooter. You take IO Interactive, a studio that has nailed Hitman like to perfection, and now like my biggest problem with Hitman is it's not for me. It's not a fluid story. It feels very compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Like every map is just a map.
Yep.
It doesn't feel, but the best thing about Hitman is how good it feels to play that game and how you feel like a spy. So, like, what a perfect match. And like looking at the gameplay and the cutscenes in this game, like you get a young James Bond. It ties all to. He kind of looks a little bit like Jack Quaid, which is weird. Maybe they're trying to tell us something. Is Jack Quaid the next James Bond? Um, that would be very funny. Uh, but you also see like his training, all this combat very much reminds me of Uncharted, and then like just the flat out stuff right out of Hitman, right? Um, and it looks very smooth. And then there's like you could tell there's chase scenes where they're racing down the highway. It just looks. I can't wait for it. I'm like a very big James Bond fan, so I'm very excited and hopeful that this will be as it was shown.
Yeah, that I agree. I like them going back to or going to a young James
Yeah,
Bond and kind of I know that can be really cliche, but I just think it gives them a lot of
we
um
want to learn how he does the James Bond stuff. We don't want to see the same old that he's like that we've seen our entire lives with him. Like we want to see him become James Bond.
yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, Josh, well my last game. Oh man. Shoot. Okay. So like I said, my last game that I'm going to mention it came from the Xbox showcase.
Oh boy, guy, what are you gonna do? It's a smirk on your face.
And I'm going to pick Super Meat Boy 3D.
Okay, actually, I gotta tell you, I was watching. I only let my son watch some of that
Yeah.
showcase,
Yeah.
and he was in the room when that popped on,
Uh-huh.
and his only reaction was, "Ew."
I like platformers. I've always liked platformers, and the original Super Meat Boy, obviously 2D was really tough. And I'm looking forward to trying it in 3D. I don't know if I'll ever be good enough to play it to finish this game, but I was not expecting this. It was a pleasant surprise, and I'm looking forward to playing it when it comes out. So I think that's for me the biggest thing of like this is one of those games. I was like, yeah, this isn't a game that I if you had told me like, hey, list games that you're really hoping you see in the future, like this would not have been on that
Yeah,
list. But the fact that they're making it, I'm pretty pleasantly surprised by.
it looks like
Um,
a lot of fun.
it does, yeah. It looks like just a good time, and sometimes just having a hard as nails platformer is something that we want or we need. So, with that, Josh, two questions for you: is there any game that you would have thought I picked that I did not?
Oh, that's a good question. Anything from the PlayStation event? That's a joke, a fanboy joke.
Yeah,
You aren't you a solo leveling fan? Did you never tell me that?
I don't.
Am I making that up?
You're making that up, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that I thought you would pick from the Xbox One or in general?
Just in general, because I have one that I really thought you would have
Animo?
picked. What's that?
Animo? Did you want to play that game of like Pokemon characters?
No, no. I really think that they were. I feel like Xbox was like, okay, we had our our previous clone Pokemon. Now what Pokemon clone can we get for this year? Like, what's
Right.
the new one? Like,
Yeah, I did. No, there's got to be something that I'm not thinking of. I mean, it could be any of the JRPG stuff you would put on your list.
I mean,
Um, no, what did I miss? What was
well,
on
I
there?
mean, for me, like I said, I there were a lot of games that I think I'm like generally interested in. Um, uh,
There wasn't something that screamed to me like I know this will be on Kyle's like list.
yeah, I so the one game that I almost included that I didn't is Cairn.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and I will say actually the reason I didn't put that in is that the trailer itself didn't do anything for me, but I downloaded the demo and played the demo and I was blown away. The demo is so good. And I was like, "Oh man, so this is now a game that I'm like super interested in." Because like I said, so that was not though because of the trailer. The trailer really didn't do much of anything for me to be honest. I'm still really looking forward to, and like I said, we already knew about this, so I am still really looking forward to what's it called? Why am I blanking on it? Um,
I don't know what happens in it.
Mafia. I like the
Mafia.
Mafia game. Like I'm still really looking forward to that, but again, I don't know that this trailer changed anything for me there. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that I mean, I'm kind of surprised that neither one of us said felt that boxing because that trailer
Uh,
was incredible. But I don't know if
was
the
it
game's
though?
gonna
I
be.
didn't even know what I was watching.
Oh, I just thought it was so weird. Like I
It was
like weird
super weird.
things,
Yeah.
But for me, I really, Josh, thought you would have said Invincible versus.
I actually am not interested in that.
Really? I thought you would like I just really for some reason thought that that would be a Josh game.
I don't like the DBZ games
Okay.
and like the One Punch Man games,
Yeah.
and it seems like that there's not a big roster for that game for, in my opinion, for it to have its own full 3-on-3 game.
Right.
Like, you're just gonna be fighting the same characters over and over and over again. It just,
Yeah.
like, kind of lost. I was certainly interested in it right away, like, when it first started, and I was like,
Right.
oh, no way, they're gonna make this a fighting game." But after that, it just kinda seemed like a messy throw together of, like, Mortal Kombat plus Dragon Ball Z fighting, like, it kinda lost me.
Gotcha. Okay. I just like I said, I kind of thought that maybe that would be a you game. So
Yeah, me too. I thought so too.
and then my one other question for you is if for all the games you saw, if you could have one of them like just done tomorrow, which one would you want? It doesn't even have to be one that you picked in your five. Like what would you if there's one you could just have done and play tomorrow?
I think probably Ghost of Yotai if I could play it tomorrow.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna say, Metal Gear, like,
Right.
that's, like, the easy answer for me. I'm really excited for Ghost of Yotai. I'm not really consuming anything of it because I don't want anything, like, spoiled for me. Um, yeah, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I
What's
mean,
your
if
game?
there was one that I could have tomorrow, it probably would be either Clockwork Revolution, or First Light. It'd probably be one of those two.
Okay, yeah.
I'll mostly just because like Ghost of Yotai, like, yeah, I'm interested in it, but I also know it's coming out this fall. So it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's like not
relatively near in the
far away.
future, so I was like, well, these two, like, one's 2026 in theory, like Clockwork,
Yeah.
who knows?
You know what did look interesting was that, Infinitesimals game
Oh yeah,
where
like the
you're playing
grounded but
the
a
tiny
story.
bugs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Josh, what are your thoughts on the Rogue Xbox Ally
It's I guess
or
it's better than
ROG?
Xbox doing its own thing. I don't know. I still have a, like, as someone who has a Steam Deck, right? There's no absolutely zero reason why I should buy one of those,
Oh, right.
especially for the price. Um, but also, like, it's the price of two consoles, and my Steam Deck already can't play new games. Why in the world is anybody going to spend that much money on a console, a handheld that won't be able to play first party games in 9 months after it's released to its highest specs?
Yeah, you'll just be able to stream them though, right? Like,
Yeah, streaming is real great in this country right now. I can't even podcast with you without one of us going blurry within a 2 hour period. Well, let's play Grounded 3 together while we do this.
yeah, right. Any other thoughts about everything we saw this summer through the all the things? Anything else you want to say? Any kind of wrap ups for
I'm a
the
little warmer
summer
on
of
it
games?
now after we talked about it than my memory of it was.
Sure.
So I think I liked it more than I let on at the beginning. Um, but I still feel like it was kind of a discombobulated, like, summer game stuff. Didn't really feel like anything felt planned. I was, like, barely aware of when the Xbox show was. I was barely aware of when Summer Games Fest was. It
Yeah.
wasn't an event like it usually is. So it still certainly lost some things for me.
Yeah. I think that the whole don't know what you have till it's gone situation of all of us are like, well, we don't need E3. People. The publishers can just talk directly to us. Well, I think we are now seeing.
Sometimes a
Um,
show is worth it. The
yeah.
event is worth it.
Yeah. And I do think it has lost some of its um it was special. Like E3 was special, and I don't know that the summer of games is special right now. Um not this always gets a little hard because I don't want to gatekeep what is shown, but there's so many shows now. And on one level, that democratization is good. It means that more people can show their games in a time where so many games are released that getting any eyes on your game can be very challenging. It's good that it is on one hand very good that there's all these options, but on the other hand, like it is there is so many things that is really gets really really hard to remember. Like when I even asked you, like, hey, what was the End of Abyss? Right? Like this was a game on what was supposed to be one of the biggest stages of the summer, and like no one really remembers what it is, right? Like, and that's not like oh, people aren't true gamers, right? There's plenty of games that you could ask me about that I wouldn't remember. That one just happened to stick with me and resonate with me. But when Xbox and PlayStation and Ubisoft and so when they were doing their showcases, like they they like were like, okay, we're investing a ton of money in this, so the stuff you see is the stuff we believe in. And
Oh, now I remember this
okay, yeah,
weird
now that you're
looking
looking at it,
game.
right? Yeah. But like that just I feel in some ways like we lost that a little bit. That and again, this is where I have very significant cognitive dissonance in my head about it because I do think it's good that we can have like women led games and the cozy game, like all that is very good. So maybe um it's just me who tries to be up on as much as I can is feeling burnt out. But people who are only into cozy games, maybe they're happy just having just their cozy games direct that they can watch and don't need anything else.
Yeah, but,
So
like, the cozy game stuff, all that stuff's coming out in a year.
yeah,
Here's my thought about, like, listening to you talk about all that and like that, and I agree with you. Something that I think of is, like, it's almost Summer Games Fest was almost more notable for what wasn't there
Yeah.
than what was there, and then you think you're talking about all these games that were revealed, teased, whatever, and that's all a symptom of the consumers wanting more and more, and then we're forcing game studios to put trailers out for games that are sometimes not even in development
Right.
and or sometimes just started. So now you're under pressure as Sony to show Wolverine. You're under pressure for Microsoft to show Fable because y'all went out and
Right.
showed it 2 years, 3 years, 7 years too early.
Yeah.
And now someone watches your Microsoft press conference and it's full of all these unique, quirky, not typical Microsoft games. And everyone's like, where's Fable? Where's Forza? Where's Gears? Why didn't you show us new Halo? Like they're doing it to themselves.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and then the stuff like you talked about gets overshadowed and then it gets dropped and really like it comes out and people don't even know about it. It is too bad that it can't just live where we're only always seeing games a year out.
Right.
Like, I'm sure it's hard for them to drive finances that way, but you people will be excited about your console regardless of that. I think.
Um sorry, I'm trying to type very quietly, but it's not it's not working.
Uh,
Oh
just
man.
do what I do and just go for
Yeah.
it.
Um but I think cuz you are right though, and that was one of the things of right after the Xbox showcase, which again, I thought it was a good showcase. It is one of those things though that it was more evident what wasn't there than what was there, right? Even especially then when it kind of Phil highlights it at the end of like he's like, "Hey,
He
next year,
name drops them.
25 years of Xbox, here are the games that you're gonna get to play." But then it's like, well, you didn't show like any of those, like, but also like you have right. Where is State of Decay 3? Where is Contraband? Where is Perfect Dark? Where is Wolverine? Where are all these games that we in theory know where's Everwild, right? Like all these things that we know supposedly exist, but have just basically like disappeared, it seems. You know. I really thought State of Decay 3 would be there. That was actually the one I was most interested in looking forward to. Really thought it would be
If
there.
you're a betting person and you're going to the Xbox showcase, you're betting on State of Decay and Forza being there. Period. Like I don't how that didn't happen is insane.
Well, and even like apparently like no not a word about Starfield if it's getting any more DLC like yeah anyway. But again, and that's what's so hard, right? Because it was a pretty good showcase. I mean,
Yeah.
it just
No thanks to Microsoft though.
um yeah, I mean the only other thing is the big and I think people generally agreed with this that and not to beat a dead horse, but ending with
Ending with Call of Duty with the biggest red herring entrance for a game trailer. You're like, oh, cool. I love Milo Ventimiglia. What is this going to be?
yeah.
Oh, it's future robots, AI. Awesome. Oh, okay.
You know what?
And like it confuses everyone because they they announced Call of Duty Black Ops right after Black Ops, which
Right,
breaks
yeah.
their whole formula of
Yeah.
what people know Call of Duty is, which is a mainline game and then a Black Ops.
Yeah.
It's just what a interesting. I'm curious in the past 2 years if the person who used to make decisions for Phil Spencer quit or got fired, and now he's doing it on his own because it's not the same. This ain't my Phil. This is the gym. This is Jim Phil.
Uh-huh.
He's going to the gym every day. He's all slimmed down and muscular. We need chubby. I'm gonna sit on my Xbox every weekend, Phil. Get that guy back out here. We want beer belly Phil.
Oh man. What it reminded me of was the trailer for Call of Duty in I think it was Infinite
Infinite
Warfare
Warfare, the
where
Kevin
like
Spacey one. Nothing
yeah,
bad
the
happened with
space
that
one where
one.
people were like this trailer's incredible. This game looks so awesome and then it was Call of Duty and
Call of
everyone was
Duty.
like, "Ah." But then it was like that campaign was really good. Like I really enjoyed that campaign. So yeah, I remember that very where everyone was like, "Oh, this game looks incredible," and they like very purposely did not say anything about being a Call of Duty until the very end. Oh man, yeah, Kit Harrington, let's go. Anyway, all right. Well, Josh, very briefly here, it's a longie as we call it. We're at the half point of the year.
Oh,
Leaves
right.
us
I forgot
about
about this part.
yeah, leaves us about 6 months. For the most part, like release schedules are not 100% finalized, but we're getting there. We some things are definitely still waiting on dates. But when we look at the last kind of few months of the year, is there anything rather than going month by month like I was going to? We just don't have the time. Is there anything you're super still looking forward to? Like what kind of other than Metal Gear, obviously Solid
Yeah,
Delta.
that's what I was gonna lead with.
Yeah. So okay, so Metal Gear Solid Delta obviously is the one I'm assuming the thing you're most interested in.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything in addition to that you're looking forward to playing this year still?
I will say Nintendo kinda won me over with the Donkey Kong Bonanza thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it looks like a lot of fun. My son's super excited, so I feel like it's gonna be a lot of just fun, not really completing the main story and just destroying the worlds. But I'm super interested in checking that one out. Yeah, obviously Metal Gear, obviously Ghost of Yotai is on that list as well for me. I watched there was a streamer event for Borderlands 4,
Yeah.
which I briefly mentioned to you,
Yeah.
and it really got me more interested in Borderlands. I started playing Borderlands 3 again. And man, I used to love Chris Hardwick so much, and I can't stand listening to his character for 4 seconds in that game.
Gotcha.
He's so loud and obnoxious. So I kind of hate going back to the main base area. Um, uh, so yeah, Borderlands 4 makes the list. I think Sonic Racing Crossworlds makes my list. Uh, which my son was over the moon when they revealed that Minecraft map for the game. So that'll be a fun family one too. And maybe Directive 8020 because we still, try to play those games, those Dark Pictures games. And they showed a little bit at maybe the Game Awards, one of them. And there was some more stuff they showed, and it looks really cool. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that too.
Um so many of the same things.
Oh, Outer Worlds too. I should mention that because
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that game.
Yeah. That does look
And
really
our
good.
graders too.
Um I think as far as like potential other things, I'm trying to think if there's anything. So, man, I can't decide. Hmm, there is
You
the
could
new
pick it all.
NCAA football it comes out, right? The new
Oh,
EA Sport. So
interesting.
I don't know if I'm going to get it though. I really want to, but also I don't know if I have the time or if that's how I want to be spending my time, I should say. I am definitely interested in the new Mafia, knowing that it is kind of a directed, story narrative based thing. I'm definitely like interested in playing that. That's something I'm looking forward to. Lost Soul aside, which got delayed from May to August, I still have some desire to see what's going to be going on there. It does look interesting. Something that's kind of creeped back onto my list is Hell Is Us, which we've seen a few times. They did previews for it a couple weeks ago, and they were really promising. Like the people who went got to play it had really positive things to say on it. This was kind of like always pretty low on my list, but has climbed up a little bit now as a result of that. Borderlands 4, I am very looking forward to. Like I kind of like hate how much I'm looking forward to it because it makes me seem like such a like cliche gamer. But I'm really looking forward to it as far as that goes. Ghost of Yotai, obviously, definitely kind of high up there. Little Nightmares 3, I was really interested in, and this is gonna sound so bad, but then I saw the price of it. Now I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm looking forward to it as much because it's like $40. Um, which doesn't seem like a lot, but does seem like a lot for that game. I don't know why. Um, Obviously we talked about like Keeper and things like that. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that you haven't mentioned.
Are you a Final Fantasy Tactics guy? I don't.
I might pick it up. I've never been a huge tactics person. I've never played Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh.
And I've never been a huge tactics person.
Mm-hmm.
That's just never really kind of been a huge um thing that I'm super excited about. So yeah, that I'll probably pick it up when it's on sale at some point. I don't know if I'll get it day one. I did forget to say, Wheel World, which comes out in July.
Yes, that looks
I
cool.
am I'm really interested in, and then like I mentioned before, Cairn, which comes out in November. I'm really interested in as well. So it actually is going to be a pretty like busy because then there's Ninja Gaiden 4. I mean, there's so much this fall. October especially is just back to back to back to back with stuff that are pretty big hitters. It seems like, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. I'll be very curious. I know we're only halfway through the year, but I'm super curious what like our end of the year lists are going to look like. Just because I've have some games that I obviously didn't know about that are really high on my list, and obviously some games that we did know about that are still to come, but even some that did come out that were great. So yeah, we'll see what this all looks like, but needless to say, I think shaping up to be a pretty good year in video games. That is for sure. So, all right, Josh. Well, let's go ahead. Let's wrap this show up. Obviously, we're a gaming podcast, but we want to give you one other recommendation, suggestion, or thing we're currently into that is helping us live that well-rounded life. Josh, what is your recommendation this month?
I share a recommendation with you.
Yeah, I'll
It
let you take
is
this one, and then I'll just take my other one.
it is Heretic on Max. This is an A24 Hugh Grant led horror suspense
Yeah,
thriller. Um, I had waited too long to watch this. I really had wanted to watch this. I've had a hard time prioritizing my film watching.
yeah,
Um, and it's great. I had to watch it over 2 nights because I couldn't finish it the first night, which I hate doing, but sometimes that happens. Uh, yeah, for people who don't know, it's about two girls. Sophie Thatcher from Companion is one of them. I don't know the other girl as an actress, but they are Mormons, and they are going around town spreading the word, or trying to at least.
yeah,
And they have a list of people they have to visit that have expressed interest from the church that they would like to know more. The premise of the movie is they get to Hugh Grant's door. He has shows interest in the church. He invites them in. It's they've been mistreated on their way there. They are getting poured on. It's raining out, and he just wants them to come in, but they cannot go in unless there's a female present, which he tells them, "Oh, my wife's inside making pie," and that's where the story starts, and it goes downhill from there. uh, but I think it's a very well made movie. It's very um, tense. It's very scary in a non horror y way. But also, there's some horror stuff in there too.
yeah.
And I didn't see a lot of it coming. And I wouldn't say I love the ending, um, but I thought it was fine. I like the cam. We get a little cameo character about 3/4 of the way through the movie. I wish they gave him more, but they didn't. Him or her. um, but overall, I think it was a pretty solid movie, and I wanted to use this as an opportunity because I saw you have it on your list too, to ask, what's the story with you and those other movies you were going to watch? Have you watched them since we last talked?
No, but
We last time we talked about them was like October of last year.
I know. No, I need to. I'll be honest. I kind of forgot.
Okay, well, I was just curious if you watched them and didn't tell me. I was going to be offended.
No, I kind of because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have all this time, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
I didn't.
So you still have Hereditary and Midsommar on your list, right?
Yep,
And you
yep, I
did
do.
watch Talk to Me.
Yep,
Okay.
yes, yes, I
All
did
right.
watch that. Yeah, which I did really enjoy. I watched that as well, and yeah, I watched Heretic as well. It just really wanted to see Hugh Grant in that role, and I've been trying to get back into watching more movies again. And man, I really dug it. I would agree that maybe the ending is a little. I wouldn't say it's unsatisfying. It's just
Safe.
it's safe. It is very. That's a good way to put it. It's a very safe ending for everything else that goes on. Ask some potentially interesting questions. But you really have to. I don't think the movie asks them. It relies on you as the viewer to ask
Yes.
them. And some of them maybe the movie isn't even intending for you to
It's not
ask.
telling you what's right or wrong. In fact, it's giving you all of the information you need to decide.
Right? Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. You have to do work to make it make it a better, a more intriguing ending than it is. Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, but no, I recommend it, especially if you're like not super into horror movies. I think this is it's there are definitely some scary parts, but overall, like like the goriness, like there's not a lot of that in it.
No,
Like
very there's some, but it's
very
not a
minimal.
lot.
Yeah, 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 so my other recommendation then is going to be a cautious recommendation in that this is a heavy, heavy documentary. And it is not going to be for everyone, but I think it's an important documentary, and that's called Surviving Ohio State. Um, this is a documentary on Max. It is basically, for lack of a better word, what if Larry Nasser, but was doing it to men? And not really a what if because it happened. Yeah. So this involves a doctor at Ohio State University from the late 1970s to the late 1990s, who was the doctor for many of the athletic teams, many of the men's athletic teams, um, and very, very clearly acted inappropriately, including situations of sexual assault, rape, and the um, yeah, I don't want to. I thought this is it's been in the news, so it's not like this is like
Yeah, no
spoilers.
spoilers.
Yeah. So and the number of victims in the report that Ohio State did about it was I think like 177. But now they figured that the number is probably over 2,000. Um, but it is interesting because it really talks about how do we talk about sexual assault when the victims are men, because we treat it very, very differently. And so it's a hard watch. It is a lot of challenging conversations and topics to be brought up. But I think it's very important. I think it's really well done. Like it's a well made just documentary in general. But it's gonna be a really hard watch for people. But if you think that's something you feel is important or valuable, or and feel that you can handle that subject matter, I think it's definitely worth the watch as far as that goes. And that's Surviving Ohio State on Max. Josh, what do you say we wrap this show up?
Let's do it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. In addition to finding us on Instagram at Board with VG, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Board with VG. So feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there. Also, if you want to communicate in the more long form or you're just not feeling social media, please feel free to email us at boardwithvg@gmail.com. We tag our stuff when we post with hashtag boardwithvg. So please feel free to use that hashtag as well so we can see what you're up to on all of the social medias. And whatever podcast service you're listening to us on, we encourage you to give us a stellar rating. That is, whether you're downloading us from the Dice Tower Network feed or our very own standalone Board with Video Games feed. You can find me on all the things. Why So Serious? That's SIRRIUS. Kyle, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, Board Game Geek, all at Psychocross, CYCOCROSS. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us because we want to talk about what you want to hear about. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.